Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, so the question of the night for me to you is, what are you sipping on? I got to it first. Haha. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. No, yeah, I'm just. It's.
It's what? You don't want to say?
Oh, hold on a sec. I've got. I guess I didn't mute the YouTube stream. Sorry about that.
Oh, I didn't hear anything. Or maybe I
No,
did.
no, no. It was in my ear, and I was hearing us.
What, was it a
twice.
Harvey Wallbanger? Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I haven't had a Harvey Wallbanger in forever, really. No, but tonight I'm just drinking. It's a Sunday night, so I'm just low key in it. I'm having a Diet Cherry Coke. That's my non-alcoholic drink of choice.
Cool.
How about you?
Having my non-alcoholic drink of choice in Arizona, Mucho Mango.
Mucho Mango.
Yes,
careful there. That's cultural appropriation.
It's cultural. Well, I didn't appropriate it. I'm boycotting Arizona drinks now. How dare they? How dare they?
That's funny.
All right, so I should say hi to the chat.
Hello,
actually,
the chat.
Yeah, we got a thumbs up tonight. We're going to talk about that in a minute too, though.
You mean the thumbs down?
A thumbs down, yeah. Well, we always get thumbs up because we're awesome, right? Okay.
Right,
anyway,
I think so.
Okay, Matthew Flynn. Oh, he had a gaming stream earlier. I caught a little bit of that, and let me see.
I actually did not, but you know what? I highly recommend that everybody who gets the opportunity go on over to Matthew Flynn's channel. I am dropping the link right now. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the notification bell so you can see whenever Matthew Flynn comes on, including the occasional Sunday mornings when I might be on with him talking about things.
I wanted to mention to you, I mentioned to Matthew, I had said, did you ever play Shadow Dancer? And he was showing me the Sega Mega Drive collection, because over in Europe, the Sega Genesis was called the Sega Mega Drive. And I said, have you ever played the game Shadow Dancer? And he says, no. And I said, it's in that collection. And he says, I don't see it. And then I remembered Shadow Dancer was banned in Germany, and they actually omitted it from that collection. Because in Shadow Dancer, you as the ninja shinobi, you have to go rescue children who've been kidnapped by the evil organization, the Union Lizard.
Okay.
That's a nice name for an evil organization, the Union Lizard, don't you think? Anyway. Children have been kidnapped. You have to rescue the children. But in Germany, you can't show children in peril.
Oh,
like mediums like that. And that's why it got banned over there, and that's why it didn't end up in that collection, even though we here in North America got it. Okay.
That's just, I don't know. It's so many of these governments that make these decisions unilaterally. They make absolutely no sense, right? And this is the same kind of stuff that, the whole comic book code, right? They would make these choices, and it was like, do you understand that by making these unilateral choices, you're actually banning something positive, right?
Yeah.
This is okay. Yeah, it's not good for children to be in peril,
but you're rescuing them.
Is to rescue them, right?
From the bad guys. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
And I guess it's probably also very, very bad for to see a woman get, abused or struck or whatever. But if you're the hero defending them, come on, you're showing that that's bad. This is a good thing. But this kind of reason, this kind of logic doesn't go into any of this. It's ban this, ban that, ban everything so that we don't get in trouble. And I'm sorry, what you're basically doing is you're infantilizing the audiences, and nobody benefits here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel bad for them over in Germany because they didn't get Shadow Dancer, and they ruined it for the rest of Europe. So, okay, for that collection. Anyway, let's see who's here. Melissa Harrison's sons. Matthew Flynn already said hi. Auto Dread, Brian Gilmartin, Horizon Talker.
And Horizon Talker, let me also drop the link for Horizon Talker's channel as well. I talk about him all the time. Every time I see him in the chat, if you look at his thumbnail, he's got some great artwork there. And if you check out his YouTube channel and hit subscribe and hit like and hit the notification bell, you can see a lot more of his artwork. And I would encourage you to support him, because it is not easy to be an artist, a producer in this modern age. So please go support what you like while we continue to bash what we hate. Okay.
And hopefully pick out things we like too.
Exactly.
Are there positive stories tonight? We will have to wait and see. But Big Al presents. Joshua V. Daniel Heron says, "Hello, awesome people of the awesome stream." Oh, thank you. Okay, and of course, last but not least, Netters Network. Welcome. Okay, hi Nanette. Okay.
And of course, the Netters Network can drop her own link in.
Yeah, you guys were doing Alienation last night. I listened to a bit of that. With James Caan.
Had you seen that movie before?
I have not seen that movie in years. I did see it when it came out.
Oh, okay. So
I think on videotape, but I should revisit it. It sounds like it probably holds up pretty well, actually.
It does. So, really, really does. Yeah, it's a shame that I don't think James Caan really got it, but it was a good movie.
Yeah.
And it was also one of those ones that's not set so far in the future. So we've well past 1991, and we're looking at that going, yeah, 1991 looked a lot like the 80s with aliens.
He probably signed on for it thinking it was going to be something about like illegal immigration or something, alienation.
And it kind of was, really.
It was. I mean,
it wasn't even subtle, right?
You know, like, yes.
But exactly. If he missed it, that's a shame. You know, he kind of missed out.
All right, but let's see what else is going on. We had people are questioning what the whole thumbs up situation is about on the
thumbs down.
Tonight. Thumbs down. I keep saying thumbs down.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Because we got 11 people watching, 11 thumbs up. So thanks everybody who's watching. But yeah, we had a Brie bot come in ring about
can I read the comment?
Go for it.
You can't see it anymore, but this Brie bot said fake news, Brie Larson is not being replaced in capital letters for effect, okay?
Oh yeah, yelling.
Captain Marvel was just a placeholder title. Shame on us. I apologize. You know.
And it's like, dude, calm yourself. Jeez, you haven't even heard what we have to say. The question mark kind of lets you know we're going to be talking about this subject. We may not come to the conclusion that Brie Larson has been replaced.
It's a rumor. We comment on news and rumors on the stream.
And the thumbnail I specifically showed, I showed I showed Captain Marvel 2 with the big, slash through it, and the Marvels replacing it. So I'm basically acknowledging the exact point that he made, that Captain Marvel 2 is not happening. It is going to be the Marvels. Is she being replaced? Well, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that a bit later.
But wow, I just said Brie Larson is the gift that keeps on giving, because even a thumbs down is an engagement.
Well, you say that, but you still have yet to watch The Unicorn Store. At some point, you are going to do a rewatch.
I'll tell you what, I don't know how a movie with the name The Unicorn Store, I do feel like it has to be watched. That is a heck of a title,
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's I keep wanting to say it's a mumblecore movie, but I could be wrong there.
Mumblecore?
Oh, do we want to get into what mumblecore is right now?
I don't even know what is it anything like Mumbledy?
It's a genre of movie.
Okay.
It's known for having some characters will mumble their dialogue.
Oh, okay.
I would argue.
Is it like The Room?
Is it like the what?
The Room?
The Room.
Yeah, that's a movie that gets a lot of.
Is that the one Brie Larson was in? I haven't seen that one.
No, Brie Larson has nothing to do with that one.
Oh, no. Mumblecore, the movie about the chair. They have to restore their father's chair, the two brothers, and they go on the journey. And you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, this does not sound interesting at all.
These are like small indie movies about, people. Mumblecore.
Gosh, I mean, the way you're describing it sounds very Waiting for Godot.
Safety Not Guaranteed. Maybe that was maybe a mumblecore movie. Jeff Who Lives at Home. I don't like that title for many reasons. Anyway, okay. Anyway,
I just got that. I see what you did
I know.
there.
But my point is that Hannah takes the stairs. So this is a genre. You know what? I foresee a Mumblecore month coming to your Saturday night streams. I think you, Big Al, and
I don't know, man. I mean,
and whoever else
you're
needs to
throwing
make it
out these
happen.
titles, and they really sound like you're making them up as
Safety
you go.
Not Guaranteed is about the guy that advertises in the newspaper and says he's invented a time machine and he needs a companion to go with him. And then these people at this magazine decide, let's go find out who this guy is and do an article on him. Okay, find out what's going on. And the whole thing is, the time machine real? Is it not? You know.
Interesting.
It had Aubrey Plaza in it. That one actually wasn't too bad. I kind of like that one. And
I know I've heard that name, Aubrey Plaza, but it sounds like a place, not a person.
Remember Community? You watched the show Community? Not Community. What was the show about the government people, by the people that made The Office? Moving along. I don't know. Okay. Aubrey Plaza. She anyway.
Dude, this is Geeky Geezers. I don't know this newfangled stuff.
Oh, Tommy Wiseau's The Room. I have seen that, and I saw the movie about the making of it as well.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I've only ever seen clips.
No, it's not good. Okay.
No, I can tell by the clips that I've seen of it.
This sounds weird. Yeah, this is going to be a weird stream tonight. But I've noticed in the chat, people keep saying, are we going to get a Troy story tonight? For starters, it's Good Old Days, not Troy Story. I know Troy Story is more catchy. It's going to be any kind of story.
I gotta say, I'm kind of encouraged. It makes it sound like they might.
It's a boomer tale.
They might be making fun of me. I don't know, but I take it as like Troy tells good stories. He's a good storyteller. Maybe, that's a selling point. So I could be encouraged by that.
Yeah, and tonight we were going to do the Good Old Days or Troy Story. So I have my own words to say on this subject too. Thank you very much. We're going to talk a bit about the Star Wars radio drama.
Oh, yeah.
I was late coming to this thing. I remember we used to get this catalog of all kinds of audio programs, right? And they had like an audio version of The Hobbit I bought. I was real excited because you got to hear like an audio dramatization of The Hobbit. They had both an American version and a British version. I got the American version. Maybe I should have gotten the British version. I don't know. And they had other stuff in there. And one of the things they had on there was Star Wars, the complete radio drama. And I'm like, well, what is this? I didn't know there was a radio show for Star Wars. So I think I got it as a Christmas present one year, and I played it on tape because I didn't get the CDs, and it was pretty neat. They actually got Mark Hamill did play the voice of Luke Skywalker on the series. I believe they got Anthony Daniels to do C-3PO. The other actors were fill-ins, but they were pretty good too.
They were very well done. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. On this show, all the Imperials have American accents and not British accents because it was made for NPR.
American production. Yeah.
It was an American production. It was made for NPR. I learned about it years later that George Lucas actually very generously, for the cost of $1, sold the rights for NPR to do a radio dramatization of Star Wars. Okay. That was kind of nice. Only $1. And he even gave them access to Luke, all the music and the sound effects for the movies as well. Yep. So if you want to do a radio drama, and I guess you hire the actors and pay them what you need to, but you get all this access. You used to pay for the rights for $1. And they made, for the first movie, they did, what was it, like 10 episodes or 13 episodes? It was like
something like that.
Like
it came out to like 5 hours if you put it all together or something.
Yeah, and it's like a very long.
Maybe it's even more than that.
Yeah, and it's like an episodic version of the story of the first movie, and it works really well. You'll have one episode. I think the first episode starts on Tatooine, and Luke's, he's in his he's on the farm, and he's like, I want to go to the Imperial Academy. Okay, well, and he's complaining, and his friend Biggs comes back into town. Hey, I've been at the Imperial Academy, and I'm learning all sorts of things. I want to join you next semester, but then they have to go buy the droids and whatnot, and that's like the whole episode. And they do the thing with I think Baker's Canyon, where like he does the race in Baker's Canyon and beats like the bully guy in town who was taunting him.
What they do is this was, in a lot of ways, you could compare it to the Hobbit trilogy, in quotes. They take one story and blow it up to a much larger thing, right? But they didn't draw from nothing. They drew from the novelization. They drew from original sketches, outlines that George Lucas had done, things that he had planned to do for Star Wars that never quite made it into the original. Some of that stuff is available in extraneous, some of it was filmed, like you said, the Tashi station scene and stuff with Biggs and whatnot. But yeah, I actually did listen to it when it originally was done on National Public Radio back in '81. I remember.
Wow.
I don't remember where I read about it. There was an advert for it somewhere. And so I eagerly looked for it and was very excited because I had read the novelization too. I was, voraciously looking for any extraneous, I don't know if you'd say behind the scenes, but like, boy, every time there was a, behind the scenes making of special on TV, I was anything Star Wars related, I was all over it. So when they did, when I heard that they were going to do this, I listened to it and was very excited that a lot of the scenes that I had read in the novel that were not originally part of the movie, they went into this I guess you could think of it as an EU, expanded universe, the expanded story of Star Wars, stuff that that lore that was either inferred or not mentioned at all, but in our minds kind of became, part of it. The same enthusiasm that I went after the fan club newsletter Bantha tracks and the interviews and the sketches, the Marquarrie, sketches and whatnot, and the files on the diet and the biology of the tauntaun and things like that,
Oh yeah. There are all these nice little details. Like, for instance, when they first go to Mos Eisley, Ben Kenobi and Luke on the show, they talk to somebody else first before they go to Han Solo.
Yep.
And you can tell this guy's an alien. Like, he's saying, "Oh, I heard you best." Yes, but I am already busy with something. But you may want Han Solo over there. And like you get so much more of the world. There was a wonderful line, I think, in that episode where Luke Skywalker's looking at Mos Eisley like, "Oh, I've never been here. I've never been." And like basically Obi-Wan says to him, "You only think Tatooine is the middle of nowhere because you've never been anywhere else. Even on Tatooine, there are important places in the scope of the galaxy." He was trying to make that point. And I just remembered loving it. I mean, I ate it up and I'm hearing this many years later because I wasn't even aware there ever was a radio show until like the 90s when I saw that they were reissuing it on tape.
Yep.
But
and CD
and CD. I have a question. Did you hear it when it first aired and hear it every episode, or was it like, did you just catch them when you could?
I did. I did hear the original Star Wars when it originally aired every episode. I did not. I missed The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which they also did.
Yes.
But like you, I did not hear about that until they were releasing them on CD.
The Empire Strikes Back one was made, I think, maybe it was 82 or 83 or something like that. It was made before Jedi came out, and they got Mark Hamill back. They didn't get around to doing Return of the Jedi until the special editions came out. So that's a lot of years later. Okay,
Right.
They couldn't get Mark Hamill back. Maybe he was too busy doing voice work on things like Batman the Animated Series. But they got another guy to act as Luke, and he wasn't bad. He was pretty good.
And because all of these three audio dramas are episodic and so long, they're longer than, the 2-hour runtime of the movies. In this instance, I did get digital versions of these and then backed them up to, side drives because, honestly, they don't fit on a single CD. And, they were actually even unwieldy just to, like, if I wanted to listen to them in the car or whatever. Yeah. So it was a lot easier to turn them into MP3s and put them on a thumb drive if I wanted to listen to them in the car.
Yeah, I believe now they are out of print, unfortunately. I think because after Disney bought Star Wars, they disappeared. Okay, but check your local library system; they might have copies. Okay, that's all.
Which is why I say get physical media, even if you get the digital versions of it. Back those files up.
I remember though with Empire and Jedi, they're a lot shorter than the first series. Maybe because it was harder to break those stories up into episodic episodes. I mean, of course, they do an episode with Empire where he's on Dagobah. They might do another episode where Han is, they're fleeing in the Millennium Falcon. But I remember though there was a great pivotal scene at the end of the Darth Vader fight in Empire, right? Okay. And this wasn't as clear in the movie, but it's very clear in the audio drama. When Luke is deciding to fall,
Yeah.
I think he thinks at that moment he's going to die.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he says, I would rather die than join the dark side. And that's why he doesn't reach out. I think he wasn't expecting to survive that fall. And that comes off in their radio drama more than it did in the movie. And I think that's very interesting as the character, that even self-preservation, I'm not joining the dark side. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And,
which
he'll
I
fall.
think has a great payoff in Return of the Jedi, when he clearly implies that he has come to the Death Star to face the Emperor and Darth Vader, and he doesn't expect to survive. He doesn't expect any of them to survive because he knows that the Death Star is about to be destroyed.
Yeah, I think he knows that. I mean, he's not gonna. I'm not gonna say it's the same thing as killing yourself, but if it means death to do the right thing, he'll do it. Okay, and I think that's what that brings up.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Brian Martin says, speaking of physical media, just picked up the Blu-ray collection of the old Batman 90s animated series.
Man.
That's an excellent Blu-ray set, too. I got mine when it was on sale for like 40-something. You get digital copies of it, too, with it. That was actually a very good bargain, actually. So, yeah.
And Daniel Heron says the radio drama can be found on YouTube, and find eBay outlets near you.
Yeah,
you can always get the secondary market. Sometimes it's, depending on how easily available it is out there, you can end up with a lot of markup on the secondary market.
I'm terrified what they're charging for it now. It was like $80 for all three a couple years ago, but that was when it was still available.
But when he says it's available on YouTube, I'm guessing it's probably just people that are hosting it, just like, they host songs and other things, and eventually it's going to get taken down. You'll have to find it somewhere else, but yeah.
Maybe they'll do a NPR version of never mind.
I know exactly. It would be right up their alley, right?
It would have been neat in addition to Star Wars, the Indiana Jones trilogy, do that as a radio series. That might have been easy.
Oh gosh, would that not? And you do it kind of in the style of those
the
old
Star
radio
Wars
dramas.
series. Yeah, exactly. I think it could work out really well. Or even doing like some of the books that were never made into movies. Actually, I am going to say the BBC typically does a lot more with this stuff than we do.
Yeah, with Big Finish and all of that.
Even Canada does it too. Canada does stuff. We're very bad with radio over here. I don't know what NPR's been doing with radio. I know they got rid of Prairie Home Companion because I guess Garrison Keillor got Me Too'd, even though apparently the guy was touch phobic. So that struck me as odd.
Well,
he would be touching someone on purpose.
It doesn't matter if you actually did the thing or not. As long as you're accused, believe the victim, and boom, you're done.
It's ridiculous. And now there's no more Prairie Home Companion.
There's no more. Well, there's no more due process. So
Yeah. But the point is that it's the old days when NPR actually did something pretty cool, and I recommend you guys checking out the Star Wars radio drama.
Yep.
You just learn so much more about the world, and none of it interferes with what was in the movie. Like you're not saying, "Oh, this detracts." No, it's like you learn more about Leia on Alderaan. And how she's doing this stuff undercover as princess and having to hide what she's actually doing from Imperial authorities.
In a way, it's very much it's very much in the spirit of like Rogue One, where you get, it did. If you haven't seen Rogue One, you're not missing anything. If you've only seen the first 6 movies, you got the story. But if you want a little more detail, yes, check out Rogue One, and you can find out how the rebels got the plans that they got to Leia.
Oh, and check out the radio. One other thing I want to mention about the radio series. Check out the radio series because I mentioned how Biggs said he had gone to the Imperial Academy, and Luke was always talking about going to the Imperial Academy. This is going to be a problem because then they're going to have to working for the Empire against the rebellion. But what you find out from Biggs is a lot of the people, once they learn everything they need to from the Academy, jump ship and go over to the rebellion side. That was happening,
and it was always assumed that that's what Han did too. That he was. He was one of those TIE fighter pilots in the black uniform. That you see in all the movies, and he And in fact, if you've ever played the game TIE Fighter, the old LucasArts game, it's very much, it gives you that feeling of what it's like to be a TIE Fighter pilot. So you figure that Han was probably just like that, and he was given a mission where he had to, something Wookiees being used as slaves. He doesn't dig that. He turns on the Imperials, helps the Wookiees escape, and
Interesting. Were you big into those old Star Wars PC games?
I was. I had, not all of them, not the console ones, but
but the ones on computer.
Yeah, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Let's save this, because even though it's May, we'll still be in May next week, right? We'll round out. Maybe we'll do the old Star Wars. I'll do console games. You can do PC games.
You got it.
That might be interesting. The old ones. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. But that was the fun stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. It's all over, guys.
Oh no, I don't.
Stay with us if you want to cry. Otherwise, let's just pretend it was a great show.
It's not all bad. It's all good. What's the first news story tonight? Oh, and I thought this was going to be the bad story, and it's not even the worst one. Okay.
Is it the
Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not hyped for this show at all. Maybe I should be. Maybe they'll wow me when the trailers come out. And I have access to Amazon Prime, so I could watch it too.
Look,
I didn't like that Tom Clancy thing they did recently with Michael B. Jordan, or the son. Yeah, I didn't.
I am not the biggest. I am not the big Tolkien fan that a lot of people are.
Right.
They've read the books, know how to speak Elven, all that kind of stuff. But as someone who has a casual interest in it because of Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, I'm able to kind of look at it a little bit objectively and go, yeah, that Peter Jackson, when he did those first 3 movies, he put his heart and soul into it and made sure he was absolutely 100% faithful to the book. And then when he had to go back and do The Hobbit, and they forced him to string it out, okay, that was the beginning of the end for it. Now they're going into a series that's charting ground that is not even been. No, this is going to be a nightmare. This is...
Yeah. Let me read from this article. I got a bad feeling about this show. Okay. The stakes are high for the Amazon Studios' upcoming Lord of the Rings series, with a reported first season budget of $465 million. That's a lot, right?
Sounds like it.
For a television series. I mean, granted, it's more episodes.
Especially for a streaming service. Do they expect to make that money back in subscribers?
I guess. Well, think about it. Lord of the Rings is still a big property. It will be one of the most expensive shows ever made. How do you justify such an expensive endeavor? Speaking to the Hollywood Reporter, Amazon Studios chief Jennifer Salke said it was mostly due to the madness of the market, noting that Netflix paid 469 millions for 2 sequels to Knives Out. Oh, okay. Oh, they're getting the Knives Out sequels on Amazon. Oh. Mariah Johnson gets more work, right?
Oh, let me rush out to see that.
Okay, so that I wonder if those are skipping theaters. That might be smart, actually. Okay, but she also revealed Amazon's lofty expectations for the forthcoming prequel. As for how many people need to watch Lord of the Rings, a lot, laughs. A giant global audience needs to show up to it as appointment television, and we are pretty confident that will happen, Salke said. What do you mean appointment television?
They're talking, the big...
It's like a doctor's appointment, or I'm going to the mechanic.
No, they're talking about the big water cooler type things, like Game of Thrones started out to be.
Okay, I do,
stuff like that.
And I do understand that. Sometimes people miss things, that there is a social component to entertainment. Yes. You might enjoy watching a sports team because people you work with, part of it's because you like sports, but people you work with might also like watching sports, and you give something to talk to people at work about without talking about your boring life or something. Not that any of us have boring lives.
But I would argue that, unfortunately, you're trying to capitalize on a social element when we have completely destroyed our society. People do not meet together. People do not work together. People socially distance. They say practice social distancing. We friggin' perfected it. We stay in our houses. We never see any other human being. And we're starting to not want to.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if you're right. It's like, did you see Black Widow? Go away. Stay away from me. That's like my reaction now.
Yeah.
Okay. Naturally, every show wants to garner huge audience. Okay. Amazon is setting a high bar for Lord of the Rings in today's world of fragmented entertainment. Few shows can be called event television. Like its competitors, Amazon appears eager to fill the void created by the Game of Thrones, which capped off its run with a finale watched by 19.3 million viewers. It
Yeah.
will face competition who are very angry the next day.
Yes.
Anyway, it will face competition from Disney's run of very successful Marvel Cinematic Universe and Star Wars shows, as well as a planned Game of Thrones prequel. So apparently HBO is going through the Game of Thrones prequel.
For crying out loud, they just referenced all the stuff that they're going up against, and they're all franchises that nobody gives a frack about anymore.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are coming back to, and it's not even the fact that it's even a game.
Nobody cares about this crap anymore.
It's not even the fact that it's even a Game of Thrones. HBO, you got to start showing me that you can make a TV show again.
Yeah.
Boardwalk Empire still hurts. Okay. I'm just going to say this. Okay. As for where all the money is actually going, Salki said that most of it is about building up the infrastructure for the rest of the show. This is a full season of huge world building show. The number is a sexy headline or a crazy headline that is fun to click on, but that is really building the infrastructure of what will sustain the whole series. But it is a crazy world, and various people on this Zoom, mostly Bella and me, okay, have been bidding situations where it starts to go incredibly high. Oh, they're talking about their creative meetings. Okay, Zoom. Okay. There's a lot of wooing, and we have to make decisions on where we want to stretch and where we want to draw the line, Salki said. Anyone who has watched the making of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy will know how much work that entails. There are the sets, the props, and everything else that goes into bringing Middle-earth to life. It will once again take place in New Zealand, which served as the backdrop for the Peter Jackson trilogy. Where did this article come from? Bad spell checking here. IGN. Never mind. Okay.
Well,
okay.
you know, you can't spell ignorant without IGN.
I was with IGN in the very beginning when they used to be N64.com because I had a Nintendo 64, so I went to N64.com. And then eventually from there, all these little gaming sites became IGN, and they started talking about entertainment news in addition to that. But
yeah.
Okay, but how are we feeling?
I don't care. I really don't. It's gonna suck. I'm not gonna even get sucked into it. I think that it's, you know, to quote CBS's Picard show, sheer fucking hubris. That's all this is. This idea that they can create the lightning in a bottle that happens that no one can explain. Right. This idea that, you know, when they created Game of Thrones, they didn't know what they were doing, and it was brilliant, and it worked out great, and everyone loved it, and they fucked it up. And it's going to be the same thing here. They're taking a franchise that everybody loves, high expectations, throwing everything they got into it, and they're going to fuck it up because they don't know what they've got, and they don't know what they're doing. And they're going to want to introduce their intersectionality and their BS, and that has no place in a franchise that came out of the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, it's basically what Tolkien was trying. I said it Tolkien. I apologize. All of us old school Tolkien fans, and we call it Tolkien. And then of course you watch the Tolkien movie, and it says, "Mr. Tolkien." Actually, it's Tolkien, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like, but it's funny. They even did the thing in the movie where the guy pronounced his name wrong. He said Tolkien when they did the biography about him. But anyway, what was I going to say? Lord of the Rings. Now I lost my train of thought because I was mumbling about how to pronounce somebody's name. One thing I'm going to say, do you remember back in the old days when Hollywood was in trouble? We weren't around actually back then. This was like in the 60s, I think. They were like, what does well? Epics, musicals. Let's spend all this money on epics. Let's spend all this money on musicals. Cleopatra, big bomb. Bombed terribly. Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, huge budget, did not do well. I think that was a 20th Century Fox release. I think it almost sank the studio, but something else saved it, like a smaller movie. Musicals were also not doing as well, and they were always big hitters. Okay, and eventually they started saying, okay, We have to find these young directors that are experimental, start spending less on these movies, but give them the freedom to do what they want. And then we started getting like, the Scorseses and the Coppolas and, even eventually like the Steven Spielberg and stuff like that, we got from that. But, yeah, I don't know. And that's what it's seeming like right now. There's
sad state of things, I think.
We're spending way too much money on this stuff. And I have to tell you, I watch a lot of television, so I think I know a little bit what I'm talking about. A lot of television shows jump the shark. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that to be mean. They'll start out strong and then they have their slip. Like Westworld, I thought started out strong, and I didn't even bother watching the last season after what Critical Drinker was saying about it. Maybe I should just to see, but it's like they run out of steam. They run out of ideas, and I know apparently they're going after Tolkien's original works on this stuff, but. This was all this. Yeah,
here's the problem. Mm-hmm. If you have something like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, a series of epic books to turn into a movie, and you can do them absolutely faithfully, they could be awesome. If you look at the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, they were working pretty much from the books. They didn't deviate that much. People loved them. We could even talk about Zack Snyder's work. When he follows a comic book and follows it pretty faithfully, it's brilliant. But when you go off the reservation and you just use some source material as a framework and then throw in your own stuff and create a few new characters here and there and, recast this character and the other character with, different race, different gender, whatever, just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
It erodes and erodes until it doesn't even look like, what you slapped a name on. It's Lord of the Rings in name only.
That's what I'm afraid this is going to be. Well, I guess we'll see or not see, as I'll probably read up about it. I don't really want to watch it if I can avoid it. Leia Plus Size, welcome. Do you really think Amazon knows how to do a TV show? They are for shopping and not making TV shows. so here, how much they care. I will say this: they have made shows in the past. They did a Jack Ryan TV series. The Tom Clancy character.
Yeah.
John Krasinski was on those shows. They wasn't bad. If you like the Tom Clancy style thrillers. Other stuff, not so good. Tin Star. Oh, that was terrible. I think that was like their attempt at doing some kind of like Canadian noir movie or noir show. Tim Roth was in it. I did not like it. No. So it's hit and miss like anything else on TV. And I'm just shocked at the amount of money they're spending on this, though. This is a lot of money. And they spent a lot of money on those Knives Out sequels too. So.
Well, and again, this comes down to something that I've said about, all of these other studios, these people making these horrible decisions. They don't care because they're going to make their money either way, right? They're contracted. So this is a money grab. This is all these people are looking to fill their pockets with as much of this sweet, sweet Lord of the Rings money as possible. And if it flops, oh, well, I'll just go on to my next project, whatever.
Yeah. And you think that's all this is?
I think it is for the people working on it. Yeah. I think the people that are doing the investing are just incredibly naive and they're not paying attention to what's going on in
Lord of the Rings. Okay, they're like Game of Thrones. We did a Game of Thrones. Oh, let's get Lord of the Rings. And I'm like,
without thinking through what happened to Game of Thrones.
Well, that hadn't happened yet though when they started this. I think
we need a Star Wars without thinking through what happened to Star Wars.
Well, a lot of Universal kept wanting a Star Wars. That's why we got Chronicles of Riddick. That's why we got that Firefly Serenity movie. They were trying to look for something that could be their own Star Wars.
That's another example of them saying, I want something like that and trying to create the lightning in a bottle. And you can't do that. Yeah. That is something that happens and you can't even in retrospect explain how and why it happened. Ask anybody, why is Star Wars such a big thing? And we all have our stories about why we loved it, the toys, the memories, the whatever. But it's you can't really explain it. It's like trying to explain how to ride a bike. You can't do it. You know,
Exactly.
it just is.
Oh, Horizon Talk says people really like The Boys and Invincible. Invincible's animated, though, right? I would imagine that costs a fraction of what this Lord of the Rings series would cost, right? Because that's the sort of thing I would expect something like Amazon to put out. Like Apple TV does their Snoopy series, right? And of course, it's animated. That probably costs a fraction of what like a live action series with, top talented actors in it might cost, right?
I'll tell you, The Boys is the kind. What are they? Have they had like 2 seasons of that?
2
show?
seasons, yeah.
That's the kind of thing that's not going to last much longer. It's going to be like Westworld, where it starts out really good and they just won't know where the hell to go with it.
Happens all the time. Now, I would imagine with this Lord of the Rings shows, hopefully they have the ending already planned, because I'm sure Tolkien wrote the ending. But this is all based on like historical stuff. A lot of writers do this, especially ones that write these big epic worlds. They'll have like a kind of Bible of the big events that happened before, right?
Yeah.
I think Lucas did that even with Star Wars to an extent. We had, like one of my favorite writers, E. Doc Smith. He wrote the Lensman Chronicles, which was a big science fiction space opera series. He had a whole book on all the stuff that happened prior to the Galactic Patrol being formed. Going all the way back in time to like the beginning of the universe, actually. Because it actually shows the beginning of the universe, and then it goes on from there up until the fall of Atlantis, the fall of Mu, and all this stuff that happened in human history and stuff. Anyway,
yeah, and this is the kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of that Tolkien outlined in the Silmarillion and all of his notes and so forth. The problem is trying to translate that. It's got to be the right writer. And I don't think they're going to get it. I don't know who's working on this thing, but my prediction is maybe I'm just black-pilled, but I just expect it to suck until I hear otherwise.
Oh, I want to read Samuel Proctor. I was so annoyed at Game of Thrones fans for years telling me to watch it every time I see them. Nudity, extreme gore is not my thing. So I was laughing when it started going bad. I am going to say this. We'll talk maybe a little bit later about fandom. Sometimes fans can be obnoxious in pushing things on people. I've gotten better about that in old age. I realize that, especially with the nature of some of the stuff on Game of Thrones, because I was a fan of it when it was on. I did like watching it. Mm-hmm. But I knew that this show's not for everyone. There are going to be some people out there that aren't going to be able to handle some of the stuff on the show. They're not going to like it, and that's fine. Just as like with Doctor Who fans could be pretty fervent, especially of New Who back in the day. Remember, they were pushing on people that maybe, aren't going to like it. Like, I'm a big fan of the anime, okay, but I know that some people aren't going to take to it, and of course there's all kinds of anime.
Well, and this is something I've said for the longest time, anyone who's ever tried to share something that they love with someone else, and they're like, what you're missing is this thing that you love. You have a lot of baggage that goes with that. For me, with Star Wars, it was a zeitgeist of my childhood with the toys and the interaction with my friends, and all the stories that I tell on these streams, and talking about my buddy David Hankey and how he thought that Darth Vader was lying. Darth Vader wasn't his father. Actually, he thought that Boba Fett was his father, and it laid out his reasons why. And I mean,
my dad thought the same thing.
And you can't recreate that for someone else.
No.
What I've done with Nanette, when I've shared with her these things that I love, I just say to her, I don't know if you're going to like this. I guess you probably won't, because it's not really your thing.
Right.
But I want you to at least experience it, because this is something so important to me.
Right.
And actually, that has tended to work positively for her. She tends to be more positively disposed to things like that, because she cares about me and she wants to get it, and so then she starts to, okay, Star Wars, I get it. Then we watch some videos about people talking about Star Wars. I got that reference, and over time she has become a Star Wars fan, even though she wasn't at the beginning. Try doing that. I think I told this on this story on one of the streams. Try doing that with her with horror movies. Now I know she's not a horror movie fan. And I said, there's certain horror movies I'd like you to see just because they had such an impact on me as a kid. And these are very scary movies. So, we'll watch them with all the lights on. I'll be sitting right there with you. And we sat and we watched the first Amityville Horror. And I swear we were halfway through that movie and she turned to me and said, have we gotten to the scary part yet? And I'm like, honest, this was scary as hell when I was a preteen.
Oh man.
She was right. It was not scary at all. I'm like, I don't remember why I found this so scary. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about,
There's going to have to be a rewatch of Amityville Horror at some point, either on one of your guys' channels.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll convince Daniel Herron, because I actually own the soundtrack to that movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I got a lot. I could ramble on. We've even thought about doing that for good old days, but I figured maybe I'll save that for closer to Halloween. But we'll see.
That's fair.
Going on. But anyway, let's go to the next story where we got a lot of ground to cover tonight.
Let's talk a little bit about Dreadful Disney. We got a lot of Disney news here to talk about.
Disney's New World Order leads to confusion and bruised egos. Oh man!
Shocker. Okay,
I wouldn't want to be working there right now.
The first thing that I want to say is talk about a loaded title. This is not our title. This is Variety's title.
Yeah.
Disney's New World Order. That phrase carries a lot of baggage, and it does not seem to reflect what they actually start getting into in the article. I think it's a little clickbaity, in my opinion.
Wow. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. Should I go ahead and start reading?
Oh, yeah, please.
The Walt Disney Company is in the throes of a major leadership shift.
Yeah, a year on after Bob Iger was supposed to have stepped down.
It's very bizarre. Oh, it's the pandemic, I'm sure. Okay, with newly minted CEO Bob Chapek.
Newly minted a year ago.
Yes. Asserting more authority as the longtime leader, he replaced Bob Iger, prepares to surrender his executive chairman role for emeritus status at the end of the year. The two men's once warm relationship has grown strained. According to 4 insiders, this comes as Chapek has overseen a 2020 reorganization that centralized the media company's content distribution and ad sales. At the corporate level, Iger has moved much more into the background than he was a few months ago, even on the creative side, insiders say. In a sign of the leadership transfer taking place, Chapek has not only joined Iger in the creative meetings, but actually convened some this spring with top creative teams in television under Peter Rice and Dana Walden. Everyone is becoming more and more deferential to Chapek, according to one Disney executive who asked not to be identified. Things are radically different than they were 6 months ago. The insider noted that the senior leaders have tried to, quote-unquote, insulate the creative teams from all the upheaval. Others say that Chapek was initially hesitant to insert himself more on the creative side because after he assumed the CEO job in February 2020, his attention was focused largely on dealing with keeping Disney afloat at the height of the pandemic after the company's theme parks were forced to shut down, production halted, and movie theaters closed. For the most part, Chapek's style has gotten positive reviews. He lacks Iger's flash and charisma, but as an insider notes, he's coming into his own. He lets you know what he wants without imposing it. Iger loves to discuss and debate different initiatives, while Chapek prefers to delegate more tasks and makes decisions. Disney sources point out that the two have very different personalities and approaches, which some can find disconcerting at times. What say you?
So here, I kind of already started on this. We're talking about a year on that Bob Chapek's been there, and Bob Iger was out, but then he was kind of in, and dither. One thing that I said about Bob Chapek when he came in a year ago, I had no idea who he was. I didn't know him from Adam. All I knew was that he used to be the guy in charge of the parks, and now he was, taking over for Bob Iger. And everybody that knew him, said he's a penny pincher. He's, real stickler, and he wants to do everything cheap. And my thought was, good. That's what they friggin' need, because Disney is wasting a whole frickin' lot of money and not caring about their bottom line. and pushing people away and doing stupid things with marketing, pissing off the fans so that nobody comes to see their movies anymore. And they're gonna freaking go bankrupt. They need somebody to come in and say, we got to stop doing this stuff that's causing us to lose money. Right?
Yeah.
So then a couple months back, after the whole Gina Carano dust up and whatnot, Forbes puts out an article. And it's not your basic fluff piece. It's a shot across the bow at Disney without specifying anybody by name, pointing out all of the hypocrisy of Disney's talking about, inclusion and diversity and, all their SJW values. And then the problem in China, the Gina Carano thing, and it's freaking ridiculous, and how people are responding to this, including investors. And the investors that hadn't, been taking notice of this took huge notice of it when Forbes came out with this, and the stock starts to drop again, right?
Yeah.
And over at Midnight's Edge, one of their frequent contributors, Kamran Pasha, look him up on IMDb. He's an industry insider.
Right.
Knows what he's talking about. Says, he says this Forbes article, I don't think people realize how huge it is. And one of two things is happening. Either this is being done at the behest of the financial people, the stockholders of Disney, saying we need movement, or we are going to divest and leave Disney and it's going to go bankrupt. Or he says, and maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but maybe Bob Chapek himself, reached out to them and said, I want you to do this piece. Maybe through an intermediary, maybe not himself directly. Why would he do this? Why would he want Forbes to do an article that makes him look bad? Because then he's being called out. And now he can go to, the Hollywood elites and go, look, it's nothing personal. It's not because Kathleen Kennedy's a woman. Look at this Forbes article. It's either her or me. I got to do what I got to do. And everyone in Hollywood's like, oh, of course you do. Yeah. I mean, I would do the same thing in your position. That's how things happen. Now we see this Variety article, and now it's talking him up, right? Saying he's moving, he's shaking, things are changing over there. That seems to be very much the next step after the Forbes article. At least that's how Kamran put it. And Kamran's been right 100% up till now.
Yep. Zatopia saying this article is the first time I felt Kennedy is really going to go. It made me feel giddy. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping this is going to be what plays out. Like I said, people are thinking that's what's going to happen, but we'll know probably by the end of the year, I would think, right? So,
and again, I mean, there's other outlets talking about this, probably more in depth than we are, but the current rumors, and it's, not just one source, many sources are saying this, that apparently Kathleen Kennedy, her contract's up in October, and she's on extended leave. She's got a lot of vacation time that she's built up over the years. And now she's taking her vacation time, and, we'll see what happens in October. And either they renew her contract or they don't, but a lot of people are saying they're not going to. They can't. There's really no way they can. But watch your wonderful Hollywood awards ceremonies at the end of this year. Those that they're still broadcasting anyway. Watch for Kathleen Kennedy to get like a Lifetime Achievement Award and have everybody coming out and talking about how great she is and how wonderful, because now she's retiring and she's earned it, and goodbye, get the hell out. And, I know there's going to be people in our own community that are going to say, well, unless we get an absolute apology signed in Kathleen Kennedy's blood, I am not going to that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. You're an idiot if that's what you think.
They'll say she did great things for Lucasfilm, and we're sorry to see her go, but wish her the best in retirement and give her the nice Lifetime Achievement Award. And that's basically saying
but
to
you
save
have
face
to
to
look
get her
at,
out of here.
You've gotten the Kathleen Kennedy backhand when you see Luke Skywalker. Okay, when you see she gets marginalized, when you see Jon Favreau get more power and her less.
I think the big thing is going to be to see who takes over after her if she does in fact leave, which I'm thinking she will. Hopefully, keep fingers crossed.
But they've already laid that groundwork too, where she herself came out and said, no, there's no bad blood. I respect John so much. We work so well together, and I'm sure someday he'll, I don't know if she actually said he'll take over or whatever, but it was definitely implied. And I'm like, yep, she's basically doing the whole I'm effed and I'm going to try and put on as brave a face as possible to save as much face as possible.
Samuel Proctor says, I don't think she's ever going to be fired. Well, she's not going to be fired. She's going to retire, resign after doing so much good stuff for Lucasfilm and Star Wars and Disney. And we wish her well. She's done her part. Yeah. But we'll see. I don't know. Even if, we're going to find out more as the year goes by, but it should be interesting, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
But I do recommend, not that they need our help, getting views, but if you really want to know the ins and outs of this, go check out, some of the most recent videos that Midnight's Edge has done on this article in particular. It's definitely well worth it.
Okay. We weren't going to comment, I think, too much on this, but this was the big news that I was talking about last week about the employee training there, which I apparently, much like Coca-Cola, they were doing, and now they've gotten rid of it, correct?
Yep, absolutely. And what I find hysterical is, see, I don't just read articles that are told with the slant, of what I tend to believe and my opinions. I don't sit in my own echo chamber. I do tend to read, in quotes, the other side. And what's so funny is to listen to these articles that are written in such a bias. Oh, these conservatives are all, up in arms about Disney's very progressive, inclusive training.
We had that the other way. The guy that wrote that editorial, and he started getting attacked online about, Disney, the parks going too woke. And then what happens like a week or two later, we find out about this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And these articles saying this, and then you read the comments and you're like, people don't understand what it's like to be a person of color and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you dumbass did not bother to read the material that this article is talking about.
Right.
Because you're perfectly okay with white people being treated the way you claim is not right.
Yeah, should I read a bit from this? Say what the diversity thing is? Yeah, the Walt Disney Corporation has launched a quote-unquote diversity and inclusion program. This is now which teaches employees that America was founded on systemic racism and asks employees to complete a quote-unquote white privilege checklist according to a new report. According to whistleblower documents obtained by City Journal, Disney's new initiative is called Reimagine Tomorrow, which includes training on so-called systemic racism, white privilege, white fragility, white saviors, microaggressions, and anti-racism. The training claims that the United States has a long history of systemic racism and transphobia, because we had to throw that in there as well, and pushes employees to take ownership of educating yourself about structural anti-black racism and not rely on your black colleagues to educate you, which is emotionally taxing. This strikes me as something right out of like the more intense universities we have nowadays, and now it's in the workplace. This is terrifying me. White employees should work through their feelings of guilt, shame, and defensiveness to understand what is beneath them and what needs to be healed. The company reportedly suggests they must listen to empathy to black colleagues and not question or debate black colleagues' lived experience. Disney tells employees they should not focus on equality or equal treatment, but on equity and the equality of outcome.
Yeah, you know what? I want to highlight the quote that Horizon Talker brings up.
Go right
He's
ahead.
Absolutely right. Discrimination in the past can only be corrected by discrimination today.
There are some people that think that.
That is by Ibram Kendi, the father of critical race theory. That is exactly what critical race theory is about. We are going to get even for the racism of the past with reverse racism today. And I'm telling you, you know, an eye for an eye makes everyone blind.
Yeah. And that's what this is. And I noticed too that all the people probably pushing this stuff are these swanky executives making their six figures, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong here? And it's just
and black supremacists.
Yeah.
There are black supremacists, people. There really are. They are black people that hate white people just cuz. When you have a training course that tells you you are evil and wrong a priori because of the color of your skin, that's a racist doctrine.
It was interesting. You know, I didn't always agree with Roger Ebert on a lot of things, but he was bringing up something when someone kept telling him, "Oh, black people can't be racist," and he was saying anyone can be racist. It doesn't matter what their color is.
Yes.
He was trying to bring out that point. Roger Ebert, who at the time was a big leftist, but this just shows where this has all been taken now in the present day.
But you also said something about this is a bunch of Disney, executives trying to. You're absolutely right, because if they really feel this strongly about it, why is Bob Iger stepping down for Bob Chapek?
Why the same name?
Well, yeah. Why is Kathleen Kennedy in charge of Lucasfilm? Those are a lot of white faces that are in charge of Disney.
I think that this is what you've called what is it? Guilt by projection.
Confession by projection.
It's not me; it's a societal problem, and the people that probably aren't part of the problem are the ones that are getting punished for it.
And don't look at me actually fulfilling exactly what our training is talking against. You just focus on you.
But it's just I don't know.
You do better, but me up at the top making my golden umbrella here or golden parachute. Ignore what's going on behind the screen.
Can you imagine what the Investor Day questions would be like now after this came out? I hope someone remembers this for next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I want Mr. Bob talking to answer.
But all it takes is, what do they say? The best disinfectant is sunlight. When this stuff comes out, oh my gosh. Well, and this is no longer really an issue because they said, okay, well, we're not going to be doing this anymore. This is obviously a problem, and the investors are not happy.
I don't think anyone was happy with this.
No.
I doubt anyone of any background was happy with this at the company because I'm sure it makes things uncomfortable for everybody, no matter what your background is.
And then imagine too being a black employee of Disney, and having your white friends and coworkers coming up to you and saying, "I'm sorry for being white and oppressing you and microaggressing against you." And they're like, "The hell are you talking about?"
I know. It's
that would make me feel uncomfortable.
This is so dystopian. It's not even funny. This is what was that? What was that story you were sharing on the MeWe the other day? That was the Harrison Bergeron.
Harrison Bergeron.
Yeah, the by the great Kurt Vonnegut.
Yeah, this whole idea that we need absolute equality through equity, where if you're exceptional, that's not good. You've got to find a way to handicap yourself so everyone can be average. That's just brilliant. That's a great way to destroy your society.
Oh, Sam Proctor's question: has Bob Iger stepped down yet? Because I remember the news in early 2020 before the lockdown, when the news came of his resignation, the lockdown happened. He stayed on. He was in some kind of weird position where, like, I'm still top chairman, but Bob Chapek's really in charge. But then
I honestly think this variety piece is really the demonstration of he's out and there's a changing of the guard. It took a year, but it's happening now for sure.
Chapek, do better, please. I can't. Anyway,
like I said, if a penny pincher, he does not give a flying fig about anybody's feelings or identity politics. He wants the money, and that's what we want from Disney. I know it doesn't, we want to vilify the mouse for being, greedy, but at least greed is a motive that I can understand and we can work with.
Yeah. This is the latest thing. Disney to gender and race swap the Lost Boys and the upcoming Peter Pan and Wendy movie. You know, I'm just thinking too, when I'm thinking of all this, how many projects do they have in the works?
How
It's
many
like
of these
110
projects can
movies.
they afford to put to their streaming service to make no money,
That's what
or
I'm
try to
wondering.
put out in theaters and make no money and not be watched in China and not be watched overseas? I mean, how much money can they afford to lose? They are going bankrupt. I don't know what those numbers look like. I'm only speculating.
This is going to
But
be an interesting year. I want to know how these movies do in the box office, but or even general, because that's box office plus renting off streaming or
well,
whatever they're
tell me
calling it these
something.
days.
We have Star Wars where they take Finn and shrink him as small as they can on the poster when they send it over to China, because
Oh yeah,
China doesn't, really much care for
ridiculous.
darker people apparently.
It, yeah.
And they keep trying to pander to China. How well do you think race swapping people of color is going to work if you're trying to get into the China market? I mean,
I
does
have
that make
no
a lot of
idea.
sense?
Is this even intended for the China market? Is this something they're throwing in? I don't know. Nothing they're doing makes sense. Let's read this though, okay?
Yeah.
Of course, maybe since it's a side character and not the main. I don't know. I don't know. There's so much inconsistency here. Casting updates on IMDb appear to show that the Walt Disney Company will be gender and race swapping a number of the Lost Boys in their upcoming live-action Peter Pan and Wendy film, which is adapted from J.M. Barrie's classic story.
Yeah.
I think the gender swapping is more bizarre to me, even with the Lost Boys, because I think even in that old Hook movie, you had Lost Boys of various things. But I mean, the gender swapping, they're not going to be boys anymore. Is that what I'm getting from this?
Well,
in fact, is it the point that Wendy is the first girl Peter Pan has met?
That is kind of crucial to no, because
it's
there was Tiger Lily, right? There
yeah,
was
she was
the
part of
mermaids.
that, but she's in a separate group. She's not part of the Lost Boys.
No, you're absolutely right. He's a boy among boys, and that's incredibly very much the point. Now, keep in mind too, on one level, I'm looking at that going, look, I was in Peter Pan in high school, okay? And most of the Lost Boys were played by girls. Peter Pan is regularly played by a female
different.
I know. Let me just finish what I'm saying though. When you're talking about stage acting, okay, and especially when you're talking about playing preteen boys, it's perfectly reasonable to have them cast, as female actresses. It totally makes sense. And that's Peter Pan too, right? And it's all innocent, and even the idea of giving a kiss, right? He doesn't even know what a kiss is, so it becomes handing him a thimble, right? Because you never end up with the two lead actresses kissing, but you're right. That's what I was leading to. This is very different. This is now, I guess they're not going to be the Lost Boys anymore. They're going to be what, the Lost Children? I don't know.
The Lost Children? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and like you were saying about that movie,
The
Hook,
Lost Pack.
Yeah, with Hook, I could get behind racial diversity. There wasn't really a problem with that, right? My biggest problem was that none of the Lost Boys had British accents. Remember,
there was that.
This was a British story. All these kids came from England, right? All the main characters were British. I don't know. I just don't know.
This was brought to our attention by YouTuber Rihanna Creole, who wrote on Twitter, I seriously just read that this Twitter about at Disney is looking for a quote-unquote person of color to play Hercules and young girls to replace the Lost Boys and Peter Pan, both live-action films. Yeah, there's the Hercules.
Do you notice a big problem with that one?
The Hercules one?
Let's cast Hercules as a black man. Do you see a problem with that?
Well, he's Greek.
Yup.
I was making a point that, especially in current times right now, Greece isn't doing so hot,
True.
And I notice that all these disparate groups tend to be lumped in the quote unquote white category. Okay.
Yep.
And I think Greece has kind of suffered, especially during the wars and even since then. I mean, they're not as miserable. They at least had the tourism going for them, right? But like Poland, that's another country. And I'm saying my point was is that the point I was trying to make though is that they went to a lot of strides to cast to ethnically be casting Aladdin right. Now, I understand that, but then they're not going to that for Greek. I mean, I'm not Greek, okay? I guess I could argue I have no personal vested interest in this, but maybe I have vested interest in it just because if you're going to do it for one, you should do it for everybody. Do you understand?
Yep. It makes absolutely zero sense. And again, it's ignoring the history there. I mean, you can't tell a Greek legend, and I mean, especially when you're talking about, well, if you're going to have an Asian character, you can't use a white person. It's got to be an Asian actor or actress. And if it's going to be transgendered, we need an actual transgendered actor to play that role. And you can't. Well, fine. Hercules is Greek. You better get somebody who's Greek. And personally, I happen to think that it's not necessary that they actually be Greek. They need to be able to pass for Greek. Okay.
Right.
So when you cast Wonder Woman and you cast an Israeli woman, okay, I can actually see her being Greek.
You could still see her as being Greek.
I've seen a lot of Greek actors and a lot of Jewish actors playing Italians. And I've never once had a problem with it, my friend.
Right.
I got a vowel at the end of my name. And although I've never been to Italy and I don't speak Italian, I am proud of my Italian heritage. Okay. But I tell you, when I see certain actors of Greek or Jewish descent playing Italians, I go, man, they're doing pretty good. I if I didn't know who the actor was, I'd have thought they were Italian.
Yeah. And there is no reason for race swapping other than politics. Yeah, I know. And my point is that there are plenty of stories you can be talking about famous black men in history. There was that Black Samurai story I told you at the library. That would make an incredible movie. I'd like to see that story done.
You don't need to tell Hercules as a black man. Go find some African folklore and tell those stories.
Yes, just The Lion King was huge. I mean, it was really based on Africa, but it was based in Africa and people. I don't know. The point is they can. I don't think they know what they're doing anymore.
I mean, Africa is not even homogeneous. There are like 600 tribes there. They all have their own cultures and languages and history and mythologies. Tell those stories.
Yeah. Do we really need another Peter Pan?
You don't need to culturally appropriate other people's stories. Tell your own.
Who are they culturally appropriating it for, though? That's the thing. Is this just to make themselves feel, oh, we're being diverse? But they're not really being diverse. They're just
they're pandering.
Anyway, this is ridiculous. Appears that Cubby will revert to his original name from Barry's story, which is Curly, but the character will be played by actress Florence Bensberg. Okay. And Tooties will also be race swapped to be played by Kayleen Eddy. Other Lost Boys cast include Sebastian, Bill Lindsay, Rodriguez as Nibs, and Noah Matthews, Tasky as Slightly. Okay. I don't know who any of these people are. Okay.
I'm not really having a huge problem with any kind of race swapping on the Lost Boys, especially if you start digging into, Victorian history and who was living in the orphanages and was in the workhouses and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah. But that's the gender swapping, though, is another thing, because like I said, it's the Lost Boys. That's the point. I think that's why, isn't that why Peter Pan is fascinated by Wendy?
Yes.
Plus, there's this other thing going on that he's on the cusp of puberty. He hasn't hit there yet, but it's going to be happening soon.
That's exactly, or would if he actually aged.
If he would grow up, yes. There was a great Peter Pan live action movie made years ago, back in 2003. Did you ever see it? The live action Peter Pan, titled Peter Pan.
I actually have it on DVD, but I'm not even sure that I watched it.
It's good. I think it had I want to say Julian Sands, but I might be confusing him with the other actor I always confuse for Julian Sands as Captain Hook, and also as Wendy's father. You know, that was always a tradition in the play. It would be the father would also play Captain Hook. You know that?
Yeah, no, yes, that's absolutely
yeah,
right.
yeah.
The only reason that we didn't do that in high school was because we had a surplus of people try out, and they wanted to have as many people.
Sure, and I understand that. Yeah,
but we did talk about that, how it was common for, and why did they do that? Because the father figure and the Captain Hook figure playing the same role in this authoritarian kind of villainous character from the point of view of a child anyway. Yeah,
but I did want to make a point too. Another thing that's disturbed me a bit. Peter Pan, you probably know the history about this, how the author actually left the royalty rights or whatever to a children's hospital, I believe, in England, the Great Ormond Street Hospital, right? They'd get proceeds from any movie or adaptation of the book or play or whatever. Right. Now, unfortunately, Peter Pan's become public domain. I think it happened back in 2007. So the only way they can get money back is if someone puts on a stage production, right? And it's a pity because this hospital actually stayed afloat with a lot of those funds. And I actually thought that was a very generous thing that the author of Peter Pan did, don't you think?
Oh, no, I think that, yeah. And it's well-intentioned, but that was, I don't want to say short-sighted, but it's not realizing the way that media was going to go. Right.
And I had a disturbing thought too. Good on the Peter Pan movie because I know they pay their dues, the live action one, the old one. Mm-hmm. But I noticed now Disney wants to do a live action Peter Pan movie, and I'm wondering, are they going to be giving any of those proceeds to the hospital, or are they not going to bother because they don't have to?
Well, this is one of those things, right, where they can probably get away with it legally speaking, but if the news gets out and the PR hits badly, they might be shamed into having to.
I also want to make a point that Peter Pan got another DVD release in 2007, the double disc edition, which I picked up. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that, I think it's in 2007 when those rights went public domain. And I had this disturbing thought that Disney waited until after it became public domain to release the DVD again. They wouldn't have to pay any proceeds to the hospital. I just don't know. I'm not saying that's what happened.
Very Disney kind of thing to do.
I'm not saying that's what happened, so let's not say that, but I would be disturbed if that's what happened. I just think the timing on that is a little odd. So my point is that I'm not looking forward to this new Peter Pan. So watch the 2003 version. It's very good. I do
have that movie that you were talking about. Looks like it was I'm trying to see if there's
It might be the actor I always confuse with Julian Sands. Okay.
Let's see. It doesn't. I don't see it on here. Douglas, Peter Pan, Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs. Okay, I was.
Oh, you know who that is?
Yeah, who?
Jason Isaacs is the captain from Discovery. Isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
He was also in
he's the
Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, he was Harry Potter as a.
He always plays an asshole.
I always confuse him with Julian Sands. I guess they have a similar look. Okay, but okay.
Oh, they're British. They all look alike, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry, Matthew Flynn. Just playing.
Oh, that was my childhood, Age of Boomer, along with the 2006 Little Mermaid DVD. I have that DVD. We were watching it on Daniel's.
Little Mermaid, another one that's going to get recast.
Lucius Malfoy. You're right, Wolf 10. Yes. Well, that's because she's a redhead, though.
Yeah.
Actually, some were thinking they were going to cast Terry Crews as what was the guy's name? King Triton? No, that's not King Triton. Anyway. I felt bad because Daniel was having trouble on that stream the other week, soundtracks Birdman, and I was left with Green Lion Girl because we were doing it on a special night. And
I know you sent me a note offline. Help!
Because I'm not a Little Mermaid expert. I like all the Disney cartoons. I've seen them, but some I like more than others. I can ramble on about the Black Cauldron for hours, but Little Mermaid, not so much an expert on.
Which is getting a Blu-ray release, by the way.
What?
Black Cauldron's getting a Blu-ray release.
It is?
Yep. I just saw it announced on the Disney. We had a while back, we had joined the get the DVDs for cheap kind of a thing. And we keep getting information from them because they want us to fulfill our quota or whatever. We got to get like one more $20 disc or something like that. We just they haven't offered anything. at a high enough price for us to say, not only will I spend that much money, but I also want that movie. And one of the ones that's coming up is a Blu-ray of The Black Cauldron.
I might pick up the Blu-ray of Black Cauldron if I were you. That might be worth. I'm happy with
I'm
my
looking
DVD.
at it, yeah.
The DVD, it's funny because the original DVD that got released was kind of junk, and then later on they released a better master version. That's the one I picked up.
Mhm.
But okay. Here's another big one. Disney Plus misses expected subscriber goals by millions. Disney Parks down 44%.
What have I been
Wow.
saying, people? I've been saying it this whole stream, and I've been saying it for months. Disney is hurting financially, and there was no way that they could skirt around this. They the previous investors thing, they said they weren't going to be announcing numbers on a regular basis anymore. They were only going to announce milestones. There's only one reason that they do that, people, and that's because those numbers don't look good and they don't want you to see them. But there eventually comes a point where you have to be open with the investors legally. You are obligated, and that's where these numbers come from.
Want me to read?
Yeah, please.
This is funny. This is Disney missed its projected subscriber goals for Disney Plus by millions, according to the DIS Quarter 2 2021 earnings report. Mm-hmm. Disney missed the mark by almost 6 million subscribers, and one has to wonder if the campaign to cancel Disney Plus after the firing of Gina Carano played into it at all. I would think it did.
You know, you can speculate all you want, but anyone with any intelligence could see it.
I think that left a bad taste in people's
Not to mention
mouth.
that there was a lot of people, coming out and because Doomcock seems to be the outlet, they're going to him and saying, yeah, it really has. And
I think regardless of how you feel, even on the matter, I think it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, the company missed on subscriber estimates for Disney Plus, coming in at 103.6 million paid subscribers. It was expected to post 109 million. Average monthly revenue per user also dipped 29% year over year at to $3.99, which the company attributed to the launch of Disney Plus All-Star. The streaming service has been bolstering the company's success as it was losing out on business from COVID restrictions. Revenue at Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products segment fell 44% to $3.2 billion, as many of its theme parks were either closed or operating at reduced capacity, and its cruise ships and guided tours were suspended. While COVID is certainly to blame for the decline in parks revenue, I actually do think that is a big part of it. The miss on Disney Plus is perplexing. Perhaps there's just too much competition, or Disney just isn't producing enough quality content to draw people to the platform after the Mandalorian and Marvel series are over. Yeah, you need original content. This is what I was saying about HBO Max, apparently, which is now I just found out they're joining with Discovery Plus. But anyway, more on that at some other time. Right. According to CNBC, Disney attributes the decline to the launch of Disney Plus All-Star. Okay. What is Hotstar? What is Hotstar?
I don't know. It's got
something in another country. I don't know. Anyway, but you were saying this for a while. I think they're hurting. I mean,
not to mention they, I don't know if we actually had it on the notes. I can't remember. I put these notes together for you and then I forget what we put on them. But Disney is hurting very, very badly in China. China has no interest in anything that they're doing. Star Wars was never big over there. So pandering by minimizing Finn did nothing for their numbers over in China. They were offended as heck by Mulan. What was the other dragony thing that they did recently over there? The Chinese Disney film. There was something else they did. I don't know. Disney, China does not care what Disney is doing.
Raya the Last Dragon, I think it was called, or
whatever. Yeah, that's it. They don't care because China has their own movie company over there. And because of the nature of the Chinese government, they will make sure that their people go see the movies made in China before they go see any Disney films or anything that comes from the West. Shocker. Okay. Everybody isn't all kumbaya like they are over here, and give everyone a chance and open up our borders. That's not how China operates. Okay. China will let their people see a Disney film if they don't have anything out that week. You know,
Like
they're
The
like, you know
Rescue.
what? Go see that
That movie
Disney
about the rescue movie. Remember the rescue movie?
Mm-hmm.
And I made the joke that if Ryan Johnson does the American remake, it'll the rescue. But they'll fail in the rescue.
Right, exactly. To
It's
subvert your expectations.
like the
But
Coast Guard comes out and we were too late. They drowned. Oh
but
well, let's
now
be
it's
sad.
looking like Shang-Chi isn't going to even be allowed to be released over in China.
Yeah. Would you want to do? We have the Donald Glover story next, but I can skip ahead if you would like.
Oh, I'm sorry. What that is on our docket? Okay, no.
It's on
Whatever.
before that, but we can feed in. We can just cover this real quick. But yeah, heard HBO Max and Discovery Plus might be merging. Yeah, we'll have more on that probably next week. But yeah, it looks like that might be a thing. Which my sister has a subscription to Discovery Plus, so maybe I'll get access to the fabled HBO Max. Or that's probably a bad thing. Anyway, Donald Glover, fear of getting canceled makes entertainment boring. Yep. I'm sorry. This is my problem. I'm watching MacGyver the other day, and they're talking about systemic racism, and it's like they pause and turn to the audience and start talking about it. Like I thought we were trying to stop some terrorists or something, and why are we talking about this stuff in the middle of the episode when you're no. Stop! You're lecturing me, and it's no wonder that show's been canceled. But anyway,
well, okay. and this is it. It's no longer about entertainment. It's about conditioning, and people switch off. And
do a better job at it because they're being so obvious right now.
Yeah, and this is the problem, because we're still operating until we go full on socialism and we take on a Chinese model that forces us to watch whatever they say we have to watch. Then we will continue to tune out when we start getting preached at, and you don't make the ad revenue and you don't make the subscriptions and you go broke. That go woke, go broke is going to be the case until, our Chinese overlords take over. And these companies really need to understand that. And it has become either you're going to make your shows to, preach these SJW messages, A, or B, be as milk toasty as possible so as not to offend anybody. And when you do that route, you have stories that go, once there was a person of some color and gender. They woke up in the morning and they did a thing. The end. That's what you end up with, so as not to offend anybody.
I was going to say, once you go that route, you get a Magnum PI. I'm sorry, the new Magnum PI. I'm sorry.
I'll take your word for it, because I had absolutely no interest when they started.
It's very vanilla TV. Anyway, let me read this real quick, okay? Where is all the good TV gone? It ain't on TV right now. Oh, man. This has been a bad season. You know what? And you know what? Like
people are going to look back in history and say that 2020 was pretty much the beginning of the end for just about everything.
I'm wondering. Okay. That's what. Anyway, where's all the good TV gone? That's what Donald Glover would like to know. The Atlanta creator hopped on Twitter late Tuesday night, a rare occurrence for the historically discreet star, to join a conversation happening on social media about the state of the screen business. That's probably the best thing you can be when you're a star. Be discreet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
His succinct hot take is currently being disputed, however, due to confusion over his use of the word canceled. His representatives did not respond to the post request for clarification. 37-year-old actor and director, also known as rapper Childish Gambino in the music world, launched his career in Hollywood as a writer for shows such as Community and 30 Rock. He has since gone on to produce his own series, the Emmy Award-winning show Atlanta, also starring Lakeith Stanfield and Brian Tyree Henry. But the biz ain't what it used to be, according to Glover. Saw people on here having a discussion about how tired they were of reviewing boring stuff, TV and film, he began in a series of 3 singular tweets, the only ones that currently appear on his Twitter feed. We're getting boring stuff and not even experimental mistakes because people are afraid of getting canceled, Glover continued in a follow-up tweet with the support of nearly 55,000 likes so far. So they feel like they can only experiment with aesthetic. Oh, that's horrible. Okay. Also, because some of them know they're not that good, he concluded. Wow. Okay. He's just being honest. Many responded to Glover's proclamation with disdain for seeming to side with an increasingly popular talking point that cancel culture is out of control. As post-editorial columnist Matthew Hennessy has argued, and a source of anxiety for writers and artists who fear being called out for offending someone or group. Hollywood elites have nothing to complain about, so they just bitch about cancel culture as if they aren't the most famous people in the world, said one critic. Except that's not what Glover is talking about, according to some careful readers in the replies. He's talking about movies, TV shows being canceled, but everyone's brains are so poisoned by Twitter, they think he's talking about cancel culture and getting mad, responded YouTube gamer Dolan Dark, whose astute analysis has garnered more than 8,000 likes so far. The This Is America rapper is set to clarify his take on the debate rolls on social media.
And for crying out loud, I mean, anybody who ignores the Gina thing and ignores the Caitlyn Jenner thing and, you know, all the other people that we could talk about that are famous people getting canceled constantly because they have wrong think or, you know, say the wrong thing. They're just being incredibly disingenuous, you know, so screw them on that too. But we've always known that the Hollywood elites are by and large pretty clueless and in their own little bubble and have no idea what's going on in reality.
Well, Glover isn't, because Glover, I guess, apparently has some idea.
We can give Glover credit right now, but I also remember when Anthony Mackie was making comments like this too. Okay. And then they backed up the truck of money and now he's Captain America. I remember Anthony Mackie when he was talking about how it's no longer about the star system. It's like they're not coming to see the Anthony Mackie movie; they're coming to see Falcon, or they're not coming to see Chris Hemsworth. They're coming to see Thor. You know, and so regardless of what he says, as long as you keep paying me, I'll keep playing the roles. So you know,
that's where we are. Well, plus two, it's like, but you were saying before, like Bill Murray. Having to be contractually obligated. Like when I first saw that trailer for Falcon Winter Soldier, okay, this might be good. I mean, it's disappointing we don't have no more Steve Rogers, but maybe this will be. Then you find out what the show's about, and it's like, nope, you know. But I mean, the trailer looked interesting. It's like that's how they reel you in, I guess. But here we go. Now let's get on to Marvel news. Yay. Okay, here was the one we got into trouble with. He'll remain this person will remain anonymous, though I'm sure that wasn't the person's name anyway, unless he keeps bugging us. Anyway, okay, so Marvel reportedly plans to replace Brie Larson's Captain Marvel with spoilers. Okay, fake news. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
we love you, Brie. Funny. Never leave. I'm sorry.
Man. Okay, yeah.
All these toxic fans, nobody understands. Okay.
Let's do this because for crying out loud, no big shocker, okay? You know. Okay. Oh yeah, go ahead and read the article first.
Yeah,
or what you wanted to read
unless
from
people are getting bored of me reading, but they're only like a couple paragraphs. Okay, it feels like Brie Larson is just starting her career as Captain Marvel, but a new report claims that the studio was already lining up her replacement. Though the Oscar-winning actress was cast way back in 2016, Larson has only played Carol Danvers twice to date, and her next scheduled appearance is The Marvels, aka also known as Captain Marvel 2, which will pair her with both Tanoia Paris, Monica Rambeau, and Iman Vellani's Ms. Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
According to Giant Freaking Robot, though, the studio has other motives behind this team-up, other than to give Carol some assistance in saving the world. GFR says they are already looking to replace Larson with one of these two heroines. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's about to exit the MCU imminently, just that Marvel is playing the long game whenever it's time for Carol to put her superhero days behind her. Either Monica or Kamala will be the next Captain Marvel. That being said, they do note that Brie won't be around for quote-unquote much longer. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And here's what I would say. Okay, so yes, she's not being replaced. In other words, she's not being replaced with another actress. They're not putting someone else in her role. But tell me this doesn't mean that she is not being replaced as Captain Marvel, like that her Captain Marvel is ending, and very unceremoniously. I mean, she was being set up to be the new to take the Iron Man place in the MCU going forward. That's how she was being billed, right? And she's already being marginalized in her second film that has been pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. Whereas Iron Man had 3 movies plus, you know, a lead role in each one of the Avengers films. So that's like what, 10 films?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and guest appearances in Spider-Man and you know, every other thing, you know. But the fact is, we got to be real here, people. Nobody likes Brie Larson. Well, some people do, apparently. But other than the stands that are, you know, chomping at the bit to kiss her feet or whatever, her ugly, disgusting looking feet. Don't Google Brie Larson's feet. Okay.
Okay. I'm not a foot guy, but apparently.
No, I'm not either. Okay. But I heard that this was a thing, and Midnight Sedge, they gave a picture, and I'm like, oh my God, those are ugly feet.
Oh,
so if you're into feet, you'll be very disappointed, apparently, with Brie Larson.
Okay.
So I just got off on a little tangent there.
We'll have to ask Al. I'm sorry. No, anyway.
No, Al, do not Google Brie Larson's feet. Do not.
Okay. Anyways, Brie Larson.
Do yourself a favor. Get out while you can. She is not well liked by her coworkers. She is not well liked by the audience, and it is very clear to everybody behind the scenes. They know this. They know she is not a winning formula. She's had 2 outings, and she was minimized in Endgame. And nobody had anything but bad things to say about her in that. Her movie only did decently because it fell between the 2 Avengers, the 2 biggest Avengers films. And there was this, as you expect,
you're
from
hoping
a shared
after that big cliffhanger, you're going to get some hints of what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and you know that they're introducing a new character. You want to, you know, get in on the ground floor of this. That's why you do a shared universe. So all the shit that you want to put out, people will still see, you know, because they don't want to miss something. It's the fear of missing out, the FOMO. Right. That's the only reason it did well. And when people saw it and word of mouth was, yeah, you could skip this one. You really don't need to see this. There was no one pushing for that second movie. No one cares other than the people that were mocking Marvel and saying, hey, where's that, Carol Danvers movie that you've been talking about and ripping on them. So everybody knows that she is not your winning thing. So what are they going to do now? Coming out of WandaVision, they're pushing Monica Rambeau. Monica Rambeau, who, by the way, in the comics was Captain Marvel long before we had Carol Danvers. Okay, she was our Captain Marvel for the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Okay, and they did her dirty, you know, all this inclusion and diversity. They skipped right over her to give the role to a white girl. Just saying. I'm saying putting her in now, too little, too late.
I think they were wanting that Wonder Woman money. Speaking of Wonder Woman, okay.
Yeah. They just keep on coming from Brie Larson.
Now, to be fair, we don't have any strict evidence that this is why she unfollowed Gal Gadot, but it does strike me as a little timely, don't you think? Okay, I'll read from this article. Okay, comic book fans have long pitted Brie Larson and Gal Gadot against each other, with a lot of them debating over which female superhero is more superior, Captain Marvel or Wonder Woman. Okay. However, no matter how many of times fans try to create a non-existent feud between these 2 actresses, they have both proven over the years that there's no bad blood between them. And while they aren't seen as the best of friends, you can totally tell that they share mutual respect for one another. In fact, Gal and Brie have laid to rest rumors that they have real-life beef following their viral selfie during the 2020 Academy Awards. They have also been very supportive of each other's Marvels and DC projects on social media, much to the delight of fans. However, their friendship may have come to an end after Captain Marvel star allegedly unfollowed the Wonder Woman actress on Instagram. Instagram users noticed that Brie is no longer on Gal Gadot's follower list, and people were quick to assume that it had something to do with the Israeli star's controversial, in quotes, statement about the ongoing crisis between Israel and Gaza. To those unaware, Gal penned an emotional declaration calling for peace amid the chaotic situation. However, a lot of people found her statement hypocritical, as the actress apparently served the Israel Defense Force as a soldier and is believed to be a Zionist. Okay. Larson, who is a social media junkie herself, has yet to air her sentiments regarding the tension between Israel and Gaza, but it's worth noting that the Oscar-winning actress also opinionated when it comes to current issues. However, that doesn't prove that she unfollowed Godot over the now viral statement. If anything, it may now have just been a random whoopsie and nothing more. Heck, we're not even sure if she actually followed her in the first place. Well, okay, we either were sure or you weren't. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, I don't like this whole business of how it's a controversial statement.
First, you were right up at the beginning. This is a silly gossip piece. Who gives a crap who's following who on socialist media anyway? Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they did do this whole try to play nice, try to pretend to be professional, behind the scenes kind of thing. And then if someone does drop you on social media, well, it probably does mean something, right?
Yeah. Can I read Gal Gadot's statement?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's important for context because they keep saying it's a quote unquote controversial statement. This is what she said. My heart breaks.
This is a very controversial statement. Listen to this.
Yeah. My heart breaks. My country is at war. I worry for my family, my friends. I worry for my people. There is a vicious cycle that has been going on for far too long. Israel deserves to live as a free and safe nation. Our neighbors deserve the same. I pray for the victims and their families. I pray for this unimaginable hostility to end. I pray for our leaders to find the solution so we could live side by side in peace. I pray for better days. That's Wonder Woman. Okay.
Yeah.
She proves more and more that she was the right actress to be cast as Wonder Woman with that statement. That's a statement for peace. Okay. There's nothing controversial about that statement. Okay. I don't know why anyone is even reading anything into that.
Just like the United States, whenever Israel tries to defend itself, they're the aggressors. You're evil, you're wrong. Because look, I mean, I don't care how you look at it. People in the Middle East and apparently here in this country hate Jews. They still do. I don't know why. And what I find incredibly ridiculous is who is it? If you were to go down party lines, who are the ones that are usually speaking out against Israel? It's the Democrats. Look at every Democratic administration.
Or at least people on the far left flank of that. But I don't understand
this. Always the conservatives that are, Israel is our allies in the Middle East and, blah, 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 and this and that. And I just do not understand how someone of Jewish descent can ever vote Democrat. I don't understand it. That is so hypocritical to me.
I think because maybe they're removed from the reality. They keep making fun. Oh, she was in the military. Everyone over there serves.
Every single adult that lives in Israel serves in the military. It's not like here where we have a selective service for only men. We still have that, right? Yep. Only men sign up for the selective service, and yet we don't even have a draft anymore since Vietnam.
But the point is they take on that responsibility.
Every single adult has to go and serve. I think, what is it, a 4-year tour of duty?
I think so. I mean, they know they have to
make men and women.
They take on that responsibility. I mean, I want to make a point. Brian Gilmartin has a comment. Chad Wonder Woman greater than Virgin Captain Marvel. This is what I would say. I would say grown-up woman, Gal Gadot, versus stuck in Arrested Development, Brie Larson, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, again, like I said, we don't know if that's why she unfollowed or if there's anything to this, but Brie Larson had better watch what she says, and so do many of these actors in Hollywood. You don't know the situation over there. You don't know what it's like to live over there. You don't know the politics of the situation over there. And all she's asking for is peace. That's all she's saying.
That is the biggest problem with these so-called intellectuals over here in the United States. They epitomize what they used to call the ugly American. Okay. Their understanding of the world ends at our borders. If you travel to these other countries and see what it's really like, what other countries are actually like, you get a really different impression of the freedoms that we live under. You know, the things you take for granted, the rights and privileges that you have under our Constitution. You go to England, you don't have the same right to due process in the same way that we do here.
No. We have innocent until proven guilty.
And if you feel that your rights have been violated, you can go up to a higher court and say, I want you to look at this. I think, my constitutional rights are being violated. You can't do that in England. In England, you have to beg the crown to please reconsider.
Oh, Horizon Talker has a comment. There are a lot of lefty Jews who feel the same about Israel as I do about China. It's an ancestral homeland with a loathsome government. Oh, according to them, you're saying you're not saying that.
No, you're exactly right. It's this idea of not really paying attention to what's actually going on in the country. Okay. I mean, if you live in a country that's constantly being bombed by all the countries around you, and you try to, I saw a political cartoon the other day. I thought was hysterical. You have a representative of Israel and representative of Palestine. And, well, look, the Palestinians want to wipe out all of Israel. Okay. Can't you compromise with them?
Well, yes.
Okay, yeah, just wipe out half of our country. Kill half of our civilians. God. That's perfectly fine with us. That's a compromise. And that's the kind of mentality
you have with something over there.
Really, you need to look at the history of Israel. You look at what was it, the 100-Day War or whatever. They were saying these countries try to march into Israel. Israel wipes the map with them and then starts taking land back from them, and they're the aggressors.
They said we were going to push Israel into the sea. Now, I noticed that we had some progress happening about, a year or two ago?
We had a lot of progress under a certain blonde, flappy-haired president.
Yes, but now things seem to be going in the reverse now. But anyway,
we're back to the Carter administration. Thank you very much.
Not that we get political on these streams, of course.
I'm sorry, 7 days war. Thank you, Horizon Talker.
Yes. But and I didn't realize, Horizon Talker, you're of Chinese descent, but welcome to the stream. That's cool. I like how we get people of all backgrounds in our streams. It's really cool. What was who's the guy?
And I see a certain kinship as a Christian. I see a certain kinship with Israel, right? Because our religions are closely tied, and I get what it's like to be a little oppressed for your beliefs.
And I have as a Christian, I have kinship with many of the Chinese Christians who are currently being persecuted over there by the government. Yes,
right.
But like I said, we'll see how things work out in the end. But speaking of China, you want to talk about this?
We kind of touched on this a little bit.
Marvel's Shang-Chi Eternals may face uphill battle to enter China. So this is interesting. I feel that oftentimes Disney is trying to make things to cater to certain markets. And it seems the more they try to cater, the less well these things do. You know what I'm just going to say? I think I said this the other night. What did well in China? Alita Battle Angel. You had a big success story there, Disney, and you own the movie now. You could do sequels.
Right.
Does well in China.
Because they didn't make a movie where they cast a Chinese actress, set it in China,
Well, the funny thing about Alita Battle Angel too, that's a very diverse cast movie too.
Very.
Okay.
Because they were faithful to the source material.
Yeah, and the whole point is, and they even explain it in that all the people basically from the world congregated around this one city after the big war. Yeah. Okay, and it was interesting. But anyway, I'll read from this article. A recent Chinese state media report has added to rumors that two major Marvel superhero films, Eternals and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, may not be approved for release in China. If this turns out to be true, this is a bit of a disaster.
Yep.
In a report on the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 4 films, the CCTV6 China Movie Channel aired a list of the U.S. release dates for 8 of the 10 scheduled titles, but conspicuously left out Eternals and Shang-Chi. Well, I'm sure they're the other two. Okay, after Black Widow, which hits the U.S. July 9th, they are the next two MCU films in the lineup, releasing in North America on September 3rd and November 5th, respectively. The omission might seem small, but its significance lies in its provenance. The channel is under the jurisdiction of China's powerful propaganda department, which has the final word on film approvals. China does not operate a free market in cinema. All foreign-made films seeking release in Chinese theaters must receive government approval and pass censorship. They are also separate quotas for films imported on flat fee terms and those such as Hollywood studio titles seeking a more lucrative revenue-sharing release through a state-owned distributor. While the China Movie Channel report is not hard evidence that the two titles will be banned from the China market, their omission could be an indication that something about them is troubling Chinese officials. So it could also mean these movies are being reviewed right now. Maybe they're not liking what they see. I'm starting to think.
Yep. And again, this goes back to what I was saying before, that China, you just read it yourself. They are not a free market, and they have their own movie industry over there, and they will always support their movie industry over ours, and they will only provide to their people our movies if they deign to share those movies. If they don't, they won't happen. And if there's any material that the Chinese government considers to be unacceptable, subversive, it will not be played over there. For example, such subject matters as time travel is not allowed in a Chinese movie. Anything that would cast aspersions on the government, or the idea that you can overthrow a government, you're not going to be able to see a movie like that in China.
Wait a minute. Did that mean that Endgame didn't get shown over there?
I don't know about Endgame, but I know that I remember them saying that they weren't going to be able to show Dr. Time Travel guy over there.
Who?
No, Dr.
Strange?
Dr. Strange, yeah. Dr. Strange, I don't think, was played in China.
And that's funny, after they went to the trouble of catering to China by... Okay.
Yep, and that was one of the articles that I read at that time. It was exactly that. They recast a role so as not to offend the Chinese audience,
because the
subject matter was not allowed.
Because it was a Tibetan monk, and of course we don't...
And they also didn't care for the fact that, not only was she a Tibetan monk, but it was a female, which they weren't too cool on either. The great leader of this order is a female. I don't care what race you made her, they weren't going to accept that. And then it's about time travel too. So this idea that you can go back and change something doesn't really fit with their thing. You're not allowed to do supernatural stuff. So there can't be gods, there can't be ghosts, there can't be any of that kind of stuff. I mean, they have whole lists. Some of what they do and don't allow is just really, really weird.
Maybe don't cater to that market and just treat it as a bonus.
Well, in fairness, I do understand the profit motive behind it. China is a huge global market, right? I mean, if you're trying to maximize your profits, you want to get in as many markets as possible, and China is getting bigger and bigger. The problem is you almost have to make completely different movies for them. And what's the point? It's not making one movie that you can market all over the world. It's making one movie you can market all over the world, and then a whole nother movie for China.
Well, they were arguing that Tom Cruise Mummy movie was made really for the Chinese market, and that we were an afterthought. It did well in China, actually, which was surprising. So, both movies
didn't do well enough for them to.
It did terribly everywhere else, though. Yeah, okay. But the movies have a direct connection to China. Shang-Chi will mark the debut of Marvel's first Asian superhero, played by China-born Simu Liu, along with Tony Leung Chiu-hua, and Michelle Yeoh, both household names in China. Well, this has to be a step up from the Star Trek Discovery. I'm sorry.
Let me real quick
get over the fact that Michelle Yeoh's on this show.
let me real quick mention Horizon Talker's got some great points here. He's saying there's an
Mhm.
interesting wrinkle to this. China puts a lot of national pride in wushu, which is a specific group of martial techniques, empty hand. You're absolutely right. You can't show other techniques as better than wushu or other weapons as superior to traditional wushu weapons.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I'd bet real money that no one working on Shang-Chi took that into account when making their film. They could
Uh,
easily have trespassed on those taboos and tripped up the in censorship
Interesting.
stand.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that over there.
And I'll tell you something else. Everything that he's saying there, not only is all of that true. Yeah, I didn't even think to break down the because I don't know enough about Shang-Chi and what they were doing with any of that. But the other thing that I was going to point out is just things like history. Okay. You go and you do Mulan, they were freaking offended by a lot of the choices that were made that to Hollywood, it's like, oh yeah, we if we did a Western, yeah, I know this isn't what they wore at the time, and this isn't the kind of gun that they shot, and you know, this isn't historically accurate, but Hollywood. That doesn't fly over there in China. This is their culture that you are appropriating.
Do you know what's interesting though? I remember, there was a Jet Li movie. Oh, I forgot what it was called. It was more recently. I don't remember. Was it Legend or no? It was a Jet Li movie. Okay, it was based on a real martial artist. This was back when China was, the sick man of Asia. They were calling it back then, and it. But this guy was a martial hero over there, a real guy, and he goes to meet a Japanese fighter he's going to have to fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing the tea ceremony, and he was saying, "Oh, we take these teas in this order," and he was like, "But I don't see any tea as being superior to the other." Just like I don't necessarily see any martial arts being as superior to the other, like your technique necessarily being superior to my technique.
Mm-hmm.
And the Japanese fighter said, "What you just said has just given me great respect for you." And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's what it is. It's not even about their technique being superior to anybody else's either. It's just all martial arts is martial arts, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
There could be the very fine difference between the practitioners of the art and the
True enough.
government now overseeing that art.
True enough. And this movie could have been made before that happened. Went
Right.
back when things were good and you had all these wonderful martial arts movies being made in Hong Kong with Hong Kong influence, and now the CCP's got involved in a lot
Yep.
of them. Because I was really into these wuxia films, the martial heroes, especially the stuff they were making in the aughts, the early aughts. They are really perfecting these, and I
Yeah,
remember
and
seeing
that's
Seven Swords screaming, "I want a sequel to this movie, please."
that's another
You
thing that
know,
people really, really need to take into account. The reabsorption of Hong Kong into mainland China. That is a huge cultural snag over there that has a great deal of impact on uh, cultural ripples that we're seeing coming out of there that I don't think anyone is really paying attention to.
no, it's a big deal. I'm not going to bring this up, but I'm a little horrified about what they did with that last Ip Man movie. They're now using these characters, historical figures, and turning it into what I frankly see as anti-American propaganda when
Yep.
that's not even what happened historically.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm not going to get into that here now, but both, but anyway, but both these movies, Shang-Chi and the Eternals, they both have a connection to China. The director of the Eternals is being by a Chinese-born director, a female director.
So here's my prediction. What they're going to do is they're going to spend all kinds of money to reshoot a whole bunch of stuff for both of these to hopefully appease China, and it's going to suck, and it's basically going to be the same formula as Mulan.
Yeah. I think so.
And they're going to lose their shirts on these things. This is only going to continue to weaken the, in quotes, next phase of the MCU.
Yeah, I think that these are all misfires. I'm going to make a point about, they make a point about how Shang-Chi in the comics, his father was Fu Manchu, right? And of course, Fu Manchu has a connotation of being a yellow peril villain from back in the day. So they changed it to make him into the Mandarin, but they're still saying, well, you've just switched out one yellow peril villain for another.
Yep.
And so I guess there's no pleasing this at this point. And I think they were also complaining about the way he was dressed. There was some other bizarre stuff in here too about how they were about the way the actors they were choosing cast in these two, which this is just an entire cultural thing. I don't even understand how they were too. I don't even like this word. What were they using here though? But they were
Look,
making characters that look too Asian and not more wide eyed, and I don't even know what that's about over there. But
that you when if you're going to cast an Asian actor for a film, okay, you have to really think through what you're doing, okay? In China, if you cast somebody of, a different, I don't know what the word for it would be, but clan, or if you cast someone who isn't actually Chinese, if they're from another Asian country, okay, you're going to offend the heck out of them, and they're going to get ticked off. Whereas in Hollywood, I honestly think these people go, oh, they're Asian, it's fine as long as they're Asian. No, there is a difference. It's kind of the opposite of what I was saying. If you do a movie all about Italians and you have, some Greek people, you have some Jewish people, and they're playing Italians and they do it well, nobody cares. Okay. The Chinese are very much going to care if you put a Japanese actor in, for example.
Oh, sure.
Or a Korean actor.
Because there's a lot of history with those countries and everything else. Oh, Horizon Dogger has a comment, though. Listen, some of us consider the Fu Manchu a valid lifestyle choice. I'm thinking back.
You mean the way I wear my mustache? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe, yeah. I'm thinking back to that wonderful trailer Rob Zombie did for the Grindhouse double feature that they put out years ago. He did Werewolf Women of the SS, and in the trailer he says, and special guest star Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu. Nicolas Cage, and I'm thinking, I would pay ready money to see that movie. But anyway,
not only that, you can't even do a movie that makes fun that way anymore.
I know. I mean, the whole point is the Fu Manchu character is a caricature from a bygone era. That's the whole point. It's like. But anyway, okay, keep going. Oh, we have a lot of stories to cover tonight, but I like I said, we'll try and wrap it up soon, because Mr. Boomer has to work in the morning. But Venom, Let There Be Carnage trailer. Tom Hardy returns in Annie Serkis's CGI-packed sequel. Did you watch the trailer to this like I asked you to?
I did my homework.
Thank you.
You told me to, so
what's your first impressions as someone who probably didn't even see the first Venom?
I mean, the trailer looked interesting, especially everything about Carnage matches up with what I know of Carnage from the comics.
Right. I mean, Woody Harrelson, he's good in his parts. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well cast for that role.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with the casting of Tom Hardy.
I didn't when I heard about the casting and then I saw the movie, but anyway, I'm sorry.
I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been Topher Grace. Okay. I mean, just saying, Topher Grace played Venom in
I know well, that's the funny thing about Topher Grace playing Venom is, if you know from the comic books, that Eddie Brock is a bodybuilder. Okay, this is a huge dude.
And that's why I'm saying that Tom Hardy is a step.
The dude from that '70s show, yes, but I remember that Beyond the Trailer woman was reading mean comments about the movie, and one guy was saying Tom Hardy looks so bloated in this movie he could play Harvey Weinstein in the movie, and I'm thinking, yeah. And then they said, and some other guy complained that, Tom Hardy makes out with himself in this movie because, of course, Venom takes over, I guess, his girlfriend, Michelle Williams, and then he makes out, and then Venom. It's a stupid scene.
Oh, my God.
The movie is stupid. I'm sorry. I'm fine.
Wow. No, I have not seen
No apologies for those who like that. Now, I'll say this about Venom. It's not necessarily stupid in a woke way unless you consider making Elon Musk the villain in the movie the woke thing to do. I don't know, but it takes place in San Francisco.
Well, and I'll tell you something else. I still don't understand the concept of a Venom movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man.
Well, I told you, Elon Musk ends up being the villain and the one who turns Eddie Brock into the... and I guess he's doing experiments on symbiotes he got from space and injecting them into homeless people. And then I guess the first successful symbiote, it takes over Eddie Brock or something, right? Okay. And he gets fired from his journalism job by this Elon Musk character who makes a call to the network, get this guy fired. Okay. It's supposed to be Elon Musk. The villain's supposed to be Elon Musk. You can tell it's supposed to be Elon Musk. Okay. And it's just, it's not good. Okay. I'll read from the article. After long last, the first full trailer for Venom: Let There Be Carnage has finally dropped with new footage that promises another CGI packed spectacle with Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, aka Venom, one of the Marvel Milo's most beloved anti-heroes. Venom first got his own franchise film with the 2018 original directed by Ruben Fleischer. Let There Be Carnage is currently set to be released on September 24th in theaters, though it has already been bounced around the Sony Pictures release calendar. This latest entry in Sony's cachet of Marvel titles. See, here's the funny thing. For a while, we had 3 different studios doing Marvel movies. You had Sony trying to do their Spider-Verse movies. You had Marvel, of course, having the bulk of it, and then you had
20th Century
Fox with the X-Men and Fantastic Four. They still own the rights.
And technically, you also had Universal with the Hulk.
If Universal had wanted to, they could have done their own Hulk movies. They were trying to work within the system, though, and then they just gave up, I think. And I think now Hulk has reverted back to... I love that Universal Hulk movie with Edward Norton. I thought that was right on
really
the money.
Liked it. I still consider that part of the MCU.
Oh, it is. I mean, people would yell at me, but I almost argue maybe the Ang Lee movie sort of is unofficially, because the Edward Norton movie kind of picks up where that one left off, the one with Eric Bana. In fact, I was saying, I know you didn't like the Ang Lee movie.
No, you really have to stretch some of the continuity, because the origin story.
I know they played fast and loose with the origin, but I thought
it's really the difference between the comic book origin and the TV series,
and then they sort of combine them, I think, in the Ang Lee movie. But the thing about I liked Eric Bana in that role too, and I thought if they were going to get rid of Edward Norton, couldn't they just brought Eric Bana back? But then we got Mark Ruffalo. More on him later. Okay. But motion capture master Andy Serkis steps behind the camera to direct the superhero follow-up to the Smash 2018 hit. Okay. Critics trashed that comic book tentpole starring Tom Hardy as notorious Spider-Man villain. It went on to take in just over $850 million at the global box office. Big's hit movie. It's considered terrible by most people who've seen it, but maybe there'll be people in the chat that disagree with me.
Wait, did the first Venom movie not do well?
It did incredibly well. It did do well critically.
Oh,
do you understand?
I see. That doesn't matter how it does critically if it's doing well financially.
I did not like it. I saw it. I got it for Christmas on Blu-ray, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, and I let it sit for an hour after watching this, and that was terrible. I'm sorry. Everything they got wrong. I love Venom as a Spider-Man villain, okay?
I did too.
And I get as the thing goes on, he gradually turns into an anti-hero. Fine. But he still has to go through that process.
There was this really weird period in Spider-Man history where, I mean, it was Venom and it was Kraven the Hunter. And And of course, they had just come off the whole Hobgoblin story and Ned Leeds and all of that stuff. There were some pretty dark stories there. It was, some of the stories were bordering on horror stories.
Yeah, well, Spider-Man can be creepy. Wasn't there that one with the lizard, which was pretty creepy too, where he's like in the sewers and stuff? I remember that was from that era. That was a McFarlane drawn one. It was, Wolfton likes the Hulk. I think what Sarah says, Venom doesn't work without Spider-Man. Yeah, he doesn't. I'm sorry.
Well, but this is the era we live in, right? We have Venom movies without Spider-Man. We have Joker movies without Batman. Yeah.
Well, you have a young Bruce Wayne in the background. Look, anyway, we're not going to talk about the Joker right now. This is another animal. But yeah, you are right. How I think with Sony, I kind of understand why they're doing this. They want to have their own MCU, but they can only use Spider-Man characters. So let's kind of make Venom, and I don't know if they'll eventually do a Holland movie where he runs into Venom, if that is a possibility, or if this has to remain separate. I don't know how any of this works.
The only way, but see, by then, Venom is now your anti-hero. He's not going to work as a villain then against Spider-Man.
You know what this movie is doing in a way? The Venom movies, it's bringing camp back into superheroes, and I don't necessarily like that.
And that is always a losing formula. Yeah. It really is.
This trailer acts like a comedy. Okay.
It did not work for Superman 3. Nope. It did not work for the Joel Schumacher Batman.
That's what this is reminding me of.
We keep seeing this over and over and over again. The only way superhero movies work is you can have humor, but you still need to take it seriously. The story needs to, and I'm sorry, I also forgot to mention, because it's such a forgettable movie, the Green Lantern film. There's another one.
Oh,
that focuses on the camp overtaking the story seriously.
Terrible.
The only way the camp works is if you have a character like Deadpool, where the universe around him is serious, but it's almost parody, It's like the comedy parody of superhero movies that's still kind of, technically in canon.
I don't necessarily even mind people doing a parody superhero thing. Like, I think Invincible is sort of or The Boys, maybe more they're accurate. That's like a parody, right? Okay, I haven't seen it.
Deconstruction, really.
Well, I haven't watched any of these things. Okay, but I'm trying to think of a modern parody. I don't know, like
you could say The Incredibles.
The Incredibles, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to say this though. For all you want to say about The Incredibles, it still kind of takes itself seriously.
Yeah, you know what?
You're does, even though it's a kid's cartoon. It does. It actually treats.
It's still got a great story there that you can respond to.
You actually have a really interesting villain. It's just a different take, but it's like what if superheroes were forced to living normal lives?
And I guess that's what it comes down to. When something like The Incredibles is actually a better story than what you're getting from Venom, you got a problem.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But this isn't necessarily bad in a woke way. It's just bad in a ridiculous way.
Bad in a bad way.
I'm almost tempted to watch it, but I ain't paying for it just to see what that whole scene with him making breakfast for Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy. I don't know. And I don't like Tom Hardy's American accent. I know they say, Brits can always do American accents. No, not necessarily. His American accent.
He didn't even talk enough. I didn't even hear him talk enough in that trailer for me to even notice.
In the movie, he talks this. I want it's all about the allegations. Like that's not how Americans talk. Tom Hardy, please. And I liked Tom Hardy up until that movie. And I'm like, no. And then there was that horrible interview where he was being. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. It's getting late. We're gonna skip this next one, but I just wanted to point out this article that's circulated in NPR. Clownfish talks about it. I recommend you check them out. Fandom can be a lot like high school. Here's how to avoid the bad stuff. The article is misrepresenting the book that's in that article, okay? It's actually a kid's book on how to start fandoms and belong to fandom, and it's actually fairly even-handed, okay? It's basically saying, don't be nasty to people joining your communities, okay? On either side, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think this is really a huge thing in the grand scheme of all the other stuff we've talked about tonight. And I'm not even sure if you want to get into the next one, because that's incredibly meaty.
This is so meaty, and it's getting late. Do you want to just talk about it briefly, or you want to save for next week?
Well, I'll at least mention what it is that we're not going to be talking about.
I'm just going to read from the first paragraph. Okay, I'll just do the first article, sure. And there are other articles on this subject too, and maybe I'll keep following this because maybe we'll treat this as a developing story. Yeah. Okay, but apparently the Golden Globes is in a lot of trouble. Any of you watch the Golden Globes? No. It used to be the more interesting award ceremony. The Academy Awards was where the stars sweat. The Golden Globes was where the stars got to relax. This was back when I still kind of enjoyed Hollywood. But anyway, okay. Tom Cruise has returned his 3 Golden Globes in protest after criticisms leveled at the Hollywood Foreign Press Association continue to create problems in the industry. The actor who won for Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire, and Magnolia, is one of the many to stand up against the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the small group of international journalists who vote on the awards after an expose highlighting failings. NBC has also announced that they'll be not be airing the 2022 Golden Globes. They've been under fire since the Los Angeles Times revealed allegations of corruption and impropriety, as well as the lack of any black members. We continue to believe that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is committed to meaningful reform, a statement from the network read. However, change of this magnitude takes time and work, and we feel strongly that the Hollywood Foreign Press needs the time to do it right. As such, NBC will not air the 2022 Golden Globes. Assuming that the organization executes on its plan, we are hopeful we will be in a position to air the show in January 2023. So I'm assuming this is more like they want them adopting the Academy Award standards for what gets nominated, like that sort of thing.
Presumably. And I'm also getting the impression that although many outlets would lead you to believe that the Golden Globes are going away in general, it's just not going to be televised this year for 1 year.
And I was making a point. I wonder if this had anything to do with that Ricky Gervais thing where he was
I think that
lambasting
has
them.
to be a contributing factor. It absolutely does.
He-
But ultimately, a couple people have said this in the stream. Who cares about these award ceremonies anymore? Nobody does.
Well,
The
I
only
used
people that do care are the people in the industry who want to feel themselves get slapped on the back by their peers.
Here's what I'll say about the Hollywood. Well, here's what I'm going to say in defense of the Golden Globes. This was not Hollywood or Hollywood insiders running this. This was the foreign press. This was reporters from other countries that report on Hollywood. Okay, Hollywood foreign press. Okay, and I felt in some ways they were more accurate in what they would nominate. For instance, I think maybe I could be wrong, but I know Game of Thrones got nominated by them for best series. I think that X-Files got nominated. Like they would nominate things outside the box, okay? More so than the Academy Awards would be, with all being stodgy and rigid. And they had more categories too. Like they would have a best musical or comedy, and then there'd also be a best like dramatic movie. So they wouldn't try to mix the two. So a comedy or musical can never win a best award, anything like they do with the Academies now, the Academy Awards now. So I always felt they were a little better. Okay.
It certainly does get into the categorization in competition, right? I mean, you can't really compare a drama and a comedy. It's like comparing apples and oranges. And yet you have some people that want to change sports so that we have all men and all women all competing together, because we got to do away with those kinds of classes.
Yes, there are classes.
Even in sports where we have weight classes. So should we do away with those too? Just saying.
Do you know what I love about Japan's view of entertainment? They have all kinds of categories for the shows. Some shows are made for kids, young girls, young boys, adult men, adult women, all sorts of things. They separate everything out. And it's not to say that you can't one sex can't enjoy something for the other sex. Okay, you know what I'm saying? But I just like the fact,
you and some of the other people in the stream, I always assumed that anime and manga was just cartoons and comic books, just like we have them here. But it's a completely different mindset over in Japan. You have adult stuff, you have kids stuff, you got stuff girls like, stuff that boys like. It covers a whole gambit, kind of the way movies do, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think movies used to be, until Hollywood decided we have to serve everybody, and then they're not serving anybody. It seems like, especially countries that, when you try to pander them, don't let your stuff in. So who's going to see Shang-Chi? Is it going to be us? And I'm not even going to say. I'll say out of all the ones previewed, that one looked the best. But even still,
and the best part is, I hear all these people that have been pretty much MCU fans, as far as, the talking heads on YouTube, going, I have no idea who Shang-Chi is, and I don't know why I should care.
Here's what I'm going to say. I have no problem with lesser known superheroes getting some limelight. I think DC needs to do a better job with that. I thought Marvel at least is allowing lesser knowns get more screen time. Do you understand? Whereas DC, it was always like Batman, maybe Superman. That's it. Okay, finally we'll do Wonder Woman.
Well, it's not even Superman. It's Batman, another version of Batman. Let's reboot Batman. Let's put him older, younger Batman. It's freaking ridiculous.
It's a completely, so for a while
Batman only has like 3 villains.
I want to make up. Really. I want to make a point that I didn't become anti Disney until really the last couple of years, because what I always said about Disney I think it was really until the Star Wars movies came out, but I was saying for a while, they know how to take risks. Okay. They're not afraid of taking risks. Guardians of the Galaxy. Would you have made a Guardians of the Galaxy movie with a talking tree that just says Groot and a talking raccoon and a bunch of other weird aliens? I would have said, are you out of your mind? We're not making this movie. They did it, did big box office. I gave them full credit for that, for taking risks. But now they're turning into this monstrous machine. It's like they're just, and they think anything can do well too, which they might learn the hard way, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be proven wrong and these movies will be big hits, but I just don't know if we're looking at another Milan situation with Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, or with the Eternals. With the Eternals, I mean, Critical Drinker had a video out today where he was like, "No one cares,"
Yeah, nobody cares. They really don't. I mean, And I think what's really bad is that everyone has given so much credit to Kevin Feige and saying that he's been responsible for this. And I feel like he needs to take a page from the J.J. Abrams playbook and get the hell out before it tanks. Okay. Because I think what we're going to find out as this goes and it gets worse and worse, it was not Kevin Feige. It was actually Favreau. Favreau was really the one that laid all the groundwork. And then Kevin Feige kept the momentum going.
Yeah.
And then kind of crapped all over it when he started to think who the hell he was.
You know, I just thought of something too. Actually, it wouldn't have worked because he was one that was the spirit. But imagine if, never mind, I'm speculating. I'll tell you after the show's over. Okay.
If you don't mind, because we were just talking about Groot and this whole idea of a character that only says one thing. I'm going to drop a link to a video. You know what it is, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's give me just a second here because I can't talk and type at the same time. This is a video. It's like 20 minutes long, something like that. It's a great little story, isn't it?
It's 35 minutes long.
About 35 minutes long. It's called Balin's Root, and it's done by a YouTube group called Viva La Dirt League. They're a group of kids that do these dramatizations of mostly gaming related type videos as if they were characters in, you know, modern MMOs and stuff like that. And they've got this like World of Warcraft-ish type series. They call it Epic NPC Man. And one of the characters is this guy, Balin. He's an NPC character in this fantasy setting. And he has no other role than to walk up and down the road going, nice day for fishing, ain't it? And or morning, nice day for fishing, ain't it? And he has like one quest that he can do, and he shows you how to fish. Yeah, it's one of those side quest waste of time type quests that you often run
like
into.
you're playing a Zelda game and someone shows you how to fish or something. Or,
this is a great story where the NPC who has no other line, who has no other purpose, no other skill, has to leave his route because something goes wonky in an upgrade of the game. And it's very interesting, very funny, a little bit touching in some places. And I mean, if you like Groot, you know, this is definitely that kind of a
like he walks into an orc stronghold and says this line or something like that. Or
yeah, all he can say is morning, nice day for fishing, ain't it? And laugh. Those are the only things that he can do.
And what if that means something else in orc or something? You know,
it's funny because as it goes, he's talking to another NPC, and you get the impression, not at first, but you eventually get the impression that either she understands the concept, she gets what he's getting at, like understanding R2D2 or understanding C3PO. You may not understand the words, but you understand the intent, right? Or maybe she actually hears him in her actual speech and language because she seems to understand. But I don't know. I just recommend you guys go take a watch of this. I think you'll enjoy it. I think this crowd would really get a kick out of it.
Cool.
Just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, no, cool. Oh, Wolf 10. Oh, that's funny. He's bringing up the Starship Troopers cartoon.
There was a cartoon?
There was, and it was actually rather well done. It was computer animated. And there was a storyline where they come back to Earth right after they think they've defeated the insects, and they're walking around this town, and all the people keep saying, hello, nice weather we're having. Okay, or good afternoon, nice weather we're having. And like one of the skinnies was with them because they also had the skinnies on the show, and the skinnies end up having to ally with the humans against the arachnids. And the skinny says to him, this is what I don't get about you humans, your preoccupation with the weather. And of course, it turns out that these are not really humans. These are bugs in disguise.
Oh,
okay.
Gotcha.
You know, but it was a neat cartoon. I would recommend you check it out sometime. But
based on the original stories or
based
like
on
a
the
spin-off of the movies?
It was it was a redo because it was based on like the movie aesthetics and also stuff from the stories. I actually found the human characters on the show more sympathetic than the ones from the Verhoeven movie because they, even though there was the whole citizen versus civilian thing,
Yeah.
the citizens didn't have an air of superiority because they were citizens. We have a responsibility to protect the civilians. But it was still, it had like Paul Verhoeven was a producer on it, but it was made more for kids. But it would get dark. It was about war, and they would have like, the neat thing about the show was, though, they would have like, it was like a half-hour episode each, but they would be like 5-episode arcs. So like one episode might have them getting stranded on a moon somewhere, and they're having to get off, and it's like 5 episodes. You understand?
That does sound really interesting. I will to this day defend that Starship Troopers movie. It's, not a great representation of the source material, but I think it's great for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But when Tofa said that's where the gunfight started. Yeah, that I can imagine. I have to rewatch it. I did buy it on DVD. I just never got around to watching it. But okay. Anything else to add tonight, Troy?
Nope. I think that about does it.
All right. So stuff going on this week. I will be on Wednesday with Daniel Herron. I don't know if anybody else is going to be on with this, but we're going to be doing WALL-E, the great Pixar movie, which I still have to watch before that stream.
I would encourage you before you do that.
I will watch it. Yeah. Before I do that.
Yeah.
What do I got to do?
I was going to say, check out, and I don't want to get any grief from you people in the chat on this one. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Go over to Film Theory and check out his playlist on WALL-E. He's got a couple theories that I found very compelling.
All right.
Don't take him too seriously. Don't take anything Matt Pat ever says too seriously, but very interesting stuff. It might change the way you look at WALL-E. Just saying.
Okay. All right.
WALL-E.
Okay. But let me see. What else you got? Good. You got anything going on this week?
Do I have so on my Friday stream, you and I had talked about maybe doing a stream focusing again on Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think I will do that simply because, and you're giving me the opportunity to say it. Those of you that are Star Wars EU fans who did not get an opportunity to get the book The Heart of the Jedi.
Oh, that's right.
By Kenneth C. Flint. Friday, for those that listen live on Friday, I'm going to have an opportunity for you to win a copy of that book. That book was originally set to be released in 1992, did not actually get published. Was published very, very briefly last week for a couple days on Amazon before it was taken down. And it did very, very well. It did very well. And it outsold, no surprise here, it outsold the High Republic. So a lot of people are disappointed. EU fans are a little disappointed they missed out on it. So now copies of it are going on eBay with starting bids of $100. That was the lowest starting bid I was able to find on eBay, up to buy it nows of $600.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in getting a free copy, I have one copy that I will be giving away in my stream on Friday to someone who comes and hangs out with me on Friday. Probably going to be talking a little bit about Star Wars, though.
It'll be at 10 p.m. And what is it, like 9 o'clock Central Time?
9 o'clock Central Time on my channel.
Oh.
Yep. And of course, Wolfie, do me a favor and drop a link to your channel, because if you're not subscribing to Wolf 10 Media, you are missing out on his rambles on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And
the next one sounds interesting. I think he said it's entertainment fatigue. I think that was the title of it. I'm feeling that.
Yeah,
it's like the stuff we're supposed to be enjoying is actually draining us of energy, and it's like, because it's, I don't know if that's what his topic is or not, but yeah,
I have said this about Nanette and I were watching what was that, The Walking Dead, and we watched one of the season premieres, and it was just so grisly and so aggravating. I was like, why are we even watching this? I am not even enjoying this anymore. And then that's like, I'm only watching it because I thought you liked it. I'm like, well, this is the last episode we watch. We're done.
Maybe we'll talk about that sometime, but I think we've all had a tap out moment with The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Negan was my favorite character. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but see, now I can forgive veering away from the source material, but they did a whole season where they faked out the death of what was that kid's name with Glenn, yeah. Glenn, they fake his death and then he comes back only to be killed off in the canonical way in the first season. But it's not just him they killed off. They killed off another character too. And I'm like, you know what? I'm through with this. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, you know what was annoying me about the whole Glenn thing, right? Because when I first saw that happen, he was on top of the garbage can, and that worthless loser he saved, who I didn't like because he got that one guy killed or whatever that I liked, the one who was going to be the new future architect for the city. Right. Anyway, he saves that guy and says, okay, we got to be better than this. I'll still train him. And then they're on top of the garbage can. There's zombies all underneath them. And he says, thank you. And then he blows his brains out and his body falls on top of Glenn. Glenn falls into the pile of zombies. And I know I'm going to sound terrible when I say this. That is the perfect death for Glenn. He tried helping out this guy who he should have been helping, and he pays for it by getting eaten alive.
You're right.
And then they did a fake out later on. I was mad. I was like, no.
That's just bad storytelling, right? When you have a good death and you ruin it, only to kill him off then and use, well, this is the way he died in the comics. Well, why did you bother with that whole, thing?
No. Plus, I thought the whole point of the show was that the whole point about the one I thought was interesting was that characters who die in the comics stay alive, characters who and vice versa. They actually switch things up on the show.
And when they
thought was interesting.
When they kill off the one guy, Negan kills off the one guy. I'm like, okay, so this is the substitution for Glenn. But then they kill Glenn too. I'm like, I'm done. I can't anymore. And I did not watch another single episode since then.
It's okay. Oh, Wolfton says he's tapping out with my wife when we managed to get through season 3 of Supergirl. You're braver than me. I made it through 3 episodes of that show, and I was like done.
Nanette and I watched a total of 1 episode of Supergirl.
I think I did 2 or
Nanette
3.
Said,
and then it was
let's give this a try. And I'm like, well, Nanette never really, asserts to watch something, so I certainly wasn't going to deny her. We get all the way through it, and she was basically like, okay, so this is The Devil Wears Prada with superheroes. I'm like, yep. She's like, and she's like, yeah, I'm not really. And she knows Supergirl. I mean, she knew this was not, I mean, race swapping Jimmy Olsen wasn't even the worst part of the show for her. So she's like, no, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
Okay.
Is there a cultural fortress?
There is a cultural fortress on this Tuesday. And it should be interesting. I don't know who's going to be on. I know Matchstick and Wolfton will probably be on it. I'll be on in a couple weeks' time. But those are cool. You get to find out about stuff that you can like and has not been infected with politics, and you can just enjoy the stuff. And so that's what that whole stream is about.
I dig it.
All right. Well, it's late. I got to get going, but it's been cool hanging with y'all.
We're old geezers. We can't do late anymore.
I hate to say it, but there's a point to that. Especially after a couple hours, even streaming, I'm like, that's why alcohol probably helps a bit.
Don't even realize. You don't even realize when I can do a late night Friday night stream because I know I can sleep in on Saturday.
Yeah.
But when Boomer and I started this show, I said, can we go a little bit earlier so that this way, if we do run a little late, it's still okay, because I'm going to be going back to work and I'm going to have to get up early in the morning. So it has worked out perfectly.
Oh, and Melissa Harris must have said at least good night 3 times. I want to make sure I say good night to her and good night to everybody else. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks everyone who came out to join us. We said it in last night's stream too. We wouldn't, if we don't have an audience, we're just talking to ourselves. So
exactly.
We really appreciate you being here. Even if you can't join us live, if you can stop by, hit the like, drop a comment to let us know you're here.
I will respond to any comments you drop on this thing.
Yeah. And whether you realize it or not, besides hitting that thumb, leaving a comment, just say, hey, thanks, like the show, or comment on something you did or did not like about what we said. That helps the channel too, because it I don't know, feeds the algorithm. At least that's what they say. I guess. All right. So thanks, everybody.
Have a good night, y'all.
Take care.